What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Ethlete Championship Series here for our third event, the Ascension. It's going to be a big day. My name's Llama77. I'm joined, as always, by the fantastic your boy Q up here in the booth. Q, how are we doing?
Yo, what it do? I am excited to get down to this thing. You mentioned the Ascension. We've gotten to do the first two. We get to run it back today. And Llama, today we get to do something that we haven't done before. We've got 3 titles on the line. It should be a fun day.
It's going to be fun. We've got 3 titles to crown, like you said. We've also got some amazing fighters, some returning fighters to try and protect those belts as well. So, you know, it's going to be an amazing day. But first and foremost, I know maybe we got some new people out there. Make sure you're hitting the follow button. This is not going to be the only event. We got events coming in the future, and you're going to want to stay tuned.
Yeah, if we're talking about events in the future, let's talk about kind of how we got here today. In June, these final 4 fighters that we are going to be seeing here first as far as for the European Championships, they went through a 10-man conference play tournament. They had to compete against themselves as far as other people in the conference. Tournament, basically, you get yourself different points, whether it's for a KO, a loss, a tie, a draw, whatever it is. And this is how we've gotten to those top 4. They've been seeded based off of those points. They're going to be squaring off today to see who gets themselves that title at the end of the day.
That's the most exciting thing, right? They didn't just get this spot for free, had to absolutely work for it. And those defending champions as well going to have to be defending those titles that had to previously play through the conference play as well. But maybe you guys at home are interested in playing in the Ethlete Championship Series. Get yourself involved. We've got an amazing community of undisputed fighters all around the world, all different regions as well. And while you're doing that, you can check out our website as well, athletecs.com. You go check that out. Join our Discord. We're giving away an Amazon gift card to new entrants today.
Yeah, if it's free, it's for me. So if you haven't got a chance to check out the website, get up on there, get yourself a chance for an Amazon gift card. Hey, yo, give it to me. Now, in case you haven't been through here before, on top of the prize pool, we also have a fight of the night where we get to provide the 2 fighters who put on the best show of the event. And I would like to really get to see which one of these fights tonight get it. I feel like in the last one that we had, it was kind of a tough decision. You and I kept going, oh, that might have been fight of the night. And then it was like the next fight, like, oh man, that might have been fight of the night. So definitely going to be interested to see how that breaks down. Also, you'll see here our first or how our prize pool breaks down for each of our title fights as well. Quite a bit of money on the line tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot of money, and of course, like we said, we've got the kind of 3 different sections going on. First, we've got the build-up, the Ascension, the nice event of those players that compete in the conference play, the 375 total prize pool there for the EU Champ 150. For both of our defending title holders, the person that wins both of those will take home 50, and then, of course, that fight of the night. It's not just the $50 that comes along with it, but that's a trophy you can keep on your shelf for forever.
It's knowing that you put on the best show amongst a fight card that looks very, very promising here today. I'm expecting some bangers. So whoever ends up walking away, whatever 2 fighters end up walking away with that fight of the night prize, means that you really put on a good one. So I'm going to be really intrigued to see, especially in the past, man, we've seen different weight classes. Last tournament, we even saw the females division coming out as well. So we know everything's on the table. These fighters are going to be pushed to their limit today.
I'm really excited to see how far the limits do get pushed, because as you mentioned, the top seed also does get to pick that weight class. So as you mentioned in that last event, we had some different spice ups of the different weight class. We had the women's fighting introduced as well. So we'll get to see the schedule. And as you mentioned, an absolutely stacked up of fight cards, starting with our Final Four European Championship. We've got some returning names there as well.
They got some returners back here. I mean, really just in this first fight, you've got Boxer Tricks and Hugs Dealer, who we both saw in that last one. We've also got Diney. I mean, you can't talk about the Final Four and not mention Ghetto IP. I mean, pretty well having an all but undefeated run through conference player, only one surprising loss. It's going to be a hard journey for all four of these fighters, though. I don't know if there's anyone who I can necessarily call like the sure-cut favorite.
Yeah, it's really tough, and especially with only 4 fighters as well, it makes it even tougher to get towards that championship belt. And not only that, again, we're playing single elimination, so you lose one fight, maybe you have a bad flash KO, and then all of a sudden your day is over. But I'm really excited to see the rest of this fight card, as well as, like we mentioned, we've got 2 other championship fights. You talk about the return of Gangstology and iPro, 2 of the most dominant in the sport.
Yeah, 2 of the most dominant we've seen through those first 2 events. I was going to say, the last event that we had, it was almost a little sad that we didn't get to see iPro get to come back after the first event, right? But then now we get to see both iPro and Gangstology back, not only fighting, but with their belts on the line as well. I mean, 5 fights, sure, it's going to be a little bit quicker of an event than we've had in the past. Usually we're at like 7 to 9 or something like that. But I think all of these fights are capable of going the distance, and who knows? Last time around, we saw us have to run it back a couple of times. Maybe we got to do it again here today.
I hope so, man. If we get some overtimes, I would be really excited to see it. But more importantly than that, you mentioned, although it's only 5 fights today, we've got a little bit longer lengths one. For those first 2 matches for the European Championship, that Final Four, it's going to be the regular 10. But for all of the remaining 3, it is going to be possibly 12 rounds, absolute bangers. And if we get extra rounds after that, I'll be a happy man.
I don't even know if I can count that high. I only got 10 fingers, you know what I'm saying? So it definitely means that we could be in for some long fights here. You mentioned as far as the firepower that's on the roster, essentially the 8 fighters that we have across the different title fights. It should be a fireworks show. I'm really excited to get into it, Llama.
Absolutely, it will be. And honestly, it's not only us up here picking the fight of the night. We hope you guys are helping us decide as well, because I know, like you mentioned last time, it was tough. We needed some audience input to definitely help us make that decision. But as well, like we said, make sure you're following, make sure you're checking out the website and getting involved in the Discord. That Amazon gift card on the line, and you could be earning some money as well as the fighters.
I mean, you might as well earn yourself a little bit of cash. Jump up in there, see what it's all about. I feel like each of these events that we have done, Llama, we keep saying it's the 3rd one. They've only gotten better and better. Part of that is because the amazing community, the involvement. So make sure y'all are getting in there if you haven't already done so. And even if you have, already make sure that you're following everything. Have you checked out the YouTube videos? I know that we posted stuff over the last month or so. Make sure you're getting in there. Remember, every like, comment, share, those help out as well as we try and build up a nice little community here. That way we can put on more of these events for you guys and try and do that some more often.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing community. And also, maybe you had to, maybe you're at work, maybe you're doing something else today. There's also those highlights that you can check out. My favorite to watch them back, see all those fights kind of combined together. So make sure you're checking out the YouTube, make sure you're checking out everything. And honestly, I'm really excited. There's just no bad fight here today. It really is such a stacked lineup. It's
a super stacked lineup here, Llama. We are probably just within a couple of minutes of getting ready to load in as far as for our first ring walk here. Llama, I've got some questions for you, though. If we have a fight that goes the distance, do you think it's one of our first 2 semifinalists here in the overtime? Or do you think we see some people coming out swinging and going for those KOs?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, a lot of these fighters just in their conference play, KOs were their choice. It's the nature of the sport, right? To try and beat your opponent as fast as possible. But it is really risky because, like we're talking about, if you go those extra rounds, if you get that reset, it could be really dangerous. But also, if you try and exert all your energy to start at the fight and then it goes 12 rounds, well, all of a sudden you could pay that difference later. So it'll be really interesting to kind of see those strategies. I do think looking at someone like Ghetto, who we'll see a little bit later, was really known for their KOs.
Do have our players just about getting ready here. You see it up on our first lineup for the day, Llama. We've got Boxer Tricks. We've got Hugs Dealers. 2 fighters that we did see our last time around when we got to run this thing back. Hugstealer being the one who went all the way to the distance and then fell just a little short to Gangstology, although that was a banger of a matchup. Hugs, our number 2 seed at the end of conference, went 14-0, 10 KOs. But when you look across the way at Boxer Tricks, I mean, had to go a little more of an up and down through conference play, but this is a player who's, known for taking all challengers, has the ability to pop off at any time.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a really good matchup. You talk about these 2 returning players. You talk about the closeness of the seeding and the work they had to do to come here. But I think at the same time, like we said, doesn't matter your record behind you. You made it to the tournament today. Now it is single elimination. Win your fights, and you can keep moving on.
Well, Llama, guess what, man? It sounds like we're getting ready to load in. I think we might just have ourselves our first fight of the day, ready to rock and roll. I know I'm ready to go. I know you're ready to go. Chat, I'm pretty sure y'all are ready to go as well. Let us know down there in the chat. Let's get this thing popping, man. I'm excited to kind of see if between these two, I expect this thing to go the distance. I'm going to be honest with you. Even though we know that both of these two fighters do like to, you mentioned especially for Hugstealer, likes to go for the KOs at the end of time, or like to go for the KOs during the conference play. I think they realize with the single elimination where they're at, it's no longer about seeding. I think this is going to be one of those where it's more the technical wow, let me run that back. The technical boxing that does come out. And I think I've got to lean a little bit towards Hugstealer in that sort of fight.
I think so too. I mean, just the amount of KOs, the kind of flawless record over and over. And you talk about also the chip on your shoulder, right? Being so close in the last event to being able to take home the belt, holding one of your own, and now getting another chance to do it. We'll have to see. We've got the ring walk. Our first fight is getting ready to go. Hugs and Boxer Tricks are ready to do it.
Oh, this should be a good one here. Sergio Martinez obviously going to have a little bit of a reach advantage as opposed to Canelo on the opposite side of the ring here. But I do feel like Canelo, brings that nice little extra little punch to him as well. So I'm going to be interested to see how this plays out between the two of them. Llama, give me your thoughts as far as the boxer selection.
I mean, I love it. Obviously, of course, behind the scenes, both these boxers did get a ban each. So, maybe some of the top ones, maybe you're wondering why, you're not seeing Sugar Ray Robinson or something. It's because of those bans. But specifically, I love Canelo just because of how much damage you can do, and specifically towards the body. We've seen in these late fights, the more and more you destroy it, the more it opens things on up. So we'll see if that piloting of Sergio Martinez can be good enough to protect it.
Yeah, I feel like for Sergio Martinez, you're going to have to make sure you can keep your distance, kind of pick and choose your moments, and you have to make sure that you don't let Canelo get up close and into that kill zone here. That's going to be what Canelo's really looking for. You mentioned, especially in those longer fights, man, the more that you can wear and tear and really grind down at those body shots, really, really huge here. But, man, no more time to talk about it, Llama. It's time to be about it.
Oh, it is time. Our first fight of the night. Like we said, the top 4 European Championship going to start with this one right here. 2 familiar faces meeting once again in the ring. And we are off in that blue corner. Hugstealer piloting and ready to go with the Sal Alvarez. And on the red corner as well, it is going to be our other fighter of Boxer Tricks getting ready to go.
And I really like this as far as seeing Hugstealer out on the Canelo pick, knowing that this is, I mentioned, trying the more, kind of grinder sort of fighter, really likes to outbox the opposition, and knowing that for Canelo, that's kind of how you're going to have to bring this one in, and able to land a couple of shots here early, but really just kind of pecking and moving, not really worrying about hitting or swinging for anything heavy just quite yet.
Not looking for anything too big, and that's the most important thing. Like we said, you don't want to get knocked out or knocked down here in some of these early rounds, because it really can stack yourself up. So just playing slow to start things out, just trading a couple of blows here and there. It's also interesting to kind of see, the spacing, to see how early they start off, just testing the waters.
Yeah, I really like seeing the pace that Boxer Tricks is keeping at, trying to keep him at bay with that right hand straight, but doesn't have a problem moving in, and we even see that right hook able to make a connection there. And Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that Hugs Dealer hasn't been able to make him pay at a couple of those times where Boxer Tricks has been closing in that gap. And I mean, honestly, here, at least through round number 1, I was almost tempted to say Boxer Tricks has kind of been controlling the pace, but I mean, Hugs has landed a couple big shots. Kind of still too early to call round 1.
Really is. Yeah, of course, round 1, not going to be, possibly an ending round, but a couple of good trades back and forth. It's all about building up that scorecard as well. So many times in the previous events, we saw, players winning by 1 or 2 on that fight card at the end of it. So every single point does matter. Every single strike really does. And with 10 seconds left to go, a final flurry from both of them. Hugs Dealer looking for a couple of big headshots and not being able to find them right at the end. And a couple of battle backs there from Tricks, but nothing too big at the end.
Of course, keep in mind, if it's your first time through, haven't happened to catch one of our earlier events, we won't be able to check out that scorecard until round number 3 here. So we'll kind of have to play kind of by our eyesight, kind of feel things out and see how it's going. I definitely feel like that has to be a super close first round. I feel like right now, though, we have been, again, still really seeing Boxer Tricks. I feel controls the paces a little bit. I'm kind of surprised Hugs has given him this much distance, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that spacing, like we talked about, is going to be important. But at the same time, Hugs Dealer, you've got the opportunity to still work your way back here in this second round, possibly down by 1. But like you mentioned, very, very close in that first round. Just, again, spacing very good from Boxer Tricks, knowing that really knowing the fighter well and kind of the limit testing to be able to play with. And I love those body shots. Just keep on putting in the damage.
Yeah, and he always tries to finish up with a nice strong right up to the face as well, and he's landed quite a few of them. You wonder as far as how many more of those Hugs Dealer is going to take before he really starts feeling them over in that blue corner. But you can see it doesn't stop Hugs Dealer from trying to close the gap, trying to close the distance, really trying to get it in and grind in at those body shots. But one thing that Boxer Tricks has been doing good is really sticking and moving back and back up and allowing that reach to really work at their advantage. A couple of big shots here, though, from Hugs Dealer. Makes you wonder if maybe getting close might be trying to get that first down of the match.
Trying to get the first down is important, and some good body damage. You're seeing it coming through. Hugs Dealer doing a good job of finally finding their work, getting that body under the 50% marker, and now in the danger zone. Boxer Tricks have been playing defensive, but has to be very careful about those flurries. Like we said, that is what Sal Alvarez is built for, just doing the quick burst of damage. And with 30 seconds left to go, Boxer Tricks has to be careful.
Yeah, and especially because we have been seeing a decent amount of body work coming in here in round number 2. As much as every once in a while we see Boxer Tricks able to land a nice right sharp shot towards the right side of the face, or sorry, left side of the face of Alvarez there. Has to have given that, as much as I wanted to give round number 1 to Boxer Tricks, did feel like Hugs might have been the one taking round number 2. I feel like this is just neck and neck.
It really did. Yeah, possibly a back and forth, a 1-for-1. We get to look at a little bit of that late damage from the replay, and lovely stuff from Hugs Dealer to step on up. But of course, it is a long fight, a single elimination. You don't want to make those mistakes, but if you do, it's okay. You have a little bit more time to try and battle things back. For Boxer Tricks, I just feel like it's tough to go in, right? It's tough to play on the offense here. You have to play off that range, but it's at the same time, you just have to play tactical. You have to play patient, and don't give Hugs Dealer those opportunities.
I mean, we've been seeing some good sidesteps to be able to kind of miss some punches coming in to really open up that first little flurry of combos. Now trying to work that left hand, trying to work the body there. And as much as Boxer Tricks was against the rope, got a little bit of damage in, but kind of allowed him to slip away for free.
Did get that slip away, was able to escape from a dangerous scenario, but that was actually really perfectly played from Hugs Dealer. That is your goal. You deny the range, you put him in the corner, you get a big headshot, and then you can push forward for more of that block or body damage. It is a little bit more reset now as Boxer Tricks gonna take it on a shot to the head there. Hugs Dealer really finding their way to combo through and find some headshots.
Ooh, a nice open up with the left hand there. Also able to land an additional body shot, and Boxer Tricks has got to be careful, starting to work their way back up into the corner. You can see trying to wrap their way on out of it. Hugs Dealer, though, doing a good job, at least until the ring has been flipped here by Boxer Tricks. Allows him to get back into that distance and still using that right hand to hit the jabs and keep him away.
Keep him away. That's the goal right now. But running out of time here. And honestly, that head taking a little bit more damage from Boxer Tricks going on the offense, trying to find the opening. But a strike to the head again from Hugs Dealer, taken Boxer Tricks down very, very low, in danger of possible a knockdown. Another good just at range. Hugs Dealer actually trying to bait him in and then putting in the flurry at the end of this round. The body shots, the headshots, it all flies through, but the bell will ring.
Oh, and even just right there at the end, Boxer Tricks getting the last 1-2 just to send a message before walking back here to the corner. And I mean, it feels like definitely kind of going to be a slow and slow, like a good rose tier, Llama. We talked about as much as these two fighters like to look for the KOs during conference play. Right now, really just worried about trying to chip away at one another. But looks like actually 3 straight rounds over to the side of our player on the Alvarez side. I mean, right now, Hugs Dealer putting in work.
Absolutely is. Just feels like finding their range so far, and we'll have to see what can happen here from Boxer Tricks. That's the nice thing, though. You can make those adaptations. As soon as you see the scorecard, it's going to be a little bit tough with that right cut here. And honestly, as much as, again, Canelo built for the body damage, Hugs Dealer targeting the headshots, especially when Boxer Tricks is on the back foot, it is really punishing.
Right now, kind of the back and forth. I think right now, you know, Boxer Tricks realizes that, I mean, they're kind of in a danger zone, especially with things starting to open up, and Hugs Dealer's got to be feeling that shift of the pace, has them really more onto the back foot. Also, one thing I did want to point out, hold on, quick flash. Can you get the knockdown here? Actually going to be able to put Hugs Dealer down with a body shot. And while this count comes across, the thing that I did want to point out, you'll notice at the bottom it does say 12 rounds. This is a 10-round fight, this being the semifinals. Just wanted to point that out.
Yep, 10 rounds, and here in the 4th one, a massive knockdown. I mean, we were talking about it for Hugs Dealer, just being able to win those first 3 rounds. Now Boxer Tricks starting to find their range, starting to be able to work their way back, and already, I gotta say, Q, a great start to the Ascension.
Already a banger of a fight here to start things off. I mean, this is what we really want to say. And I mean, really, it's kind of hopefully just a little appetizer for what we're going to get for the rest of our evening here, Llama. I feel like now, though, Boxer Tricks has to realize after being able to get the first knockdown, the second does come easier. You've got to find a way to close the gap, continue to hit him with the flurries, and Hugs Dealer trying the best that they can, working the sidestep side to side, landing some shots where possible, but right now it seems to be just swinging for the fences in desperation.
And it is going to hit 0, and you mentioned a little bit of the swings there right at the end. We'll get to see that replay. It was just the body shots and the headshot combo right towards the middle of that round that did get the knockdown. So Boxer Tricks definitely able to win that round, but cannot get complacent. Was down 3. We'll have to see how the scorecard looks here in a couple of rounds. And as well, you saw that pop up. If you guys want to be the next one here in this ring, make sure to join our Discord community.
Gotta jump up in there and get active, even if you just want to help spread the word. If you enjoy the vibes, you know, jump up in there. If you want to compete, for sure, though, definitely make sure you're getting in there, trying to make sure we're blowing this thing up here as much as possible, getting ready for show number 4 here in the coming months, especially now we've got ourselves, going to have ourselves a couple of champions here, but I'm get ready to move into this next round. Round number 5. Got a minute gone by here, Llama. Nice shots coming in from Hugs Dealer. Nice little combo to be able to at least put Boxer Tricks back onto their back foot. Also another big shot as well.
Great shot to the head there. And honestly, again and again, Hugs Dealer just does not stop and can sense blood in the water. This is the great thing that proves that Hugs Dealer is a great fighter. Know when the opponent is damaged, know when they can push their effort, and just trying to use that range at Canelo's range is so tough for Boxer Tricks to be able to fight back. The other thing I'm noticing, Q, you'll look at the stamina bar. Hugs Dealer really hasn't been putting the gas pedal too far forward, which is good for the later rounds.
Yeah, they've got themselves quite a bit left in the tank here. Does a good job every once in a while of needing to expend that to close the gap when needed, but I think right now, especially as the later this fight does go here deeper into the rounds, Boxer Tricks is going to need to have to start kind of upping up the tempo, and Hugs Dealer in a great position to be able to hold that off.
Hugs Dealer can just play some defense or keep going on forward, and we get the switch. I love this point of view because you look at the head damage. Boxer Tricks in a little bit of trouble. 20 seconds left to go, and hoping that the bell will save them this time. But Hugs Dealer, once again, smelling blood, calming things down, going for a couple of big upper body shots and doesn't find them. But down to just a few left, they trade blows, and just barely Boxer Trick is saved by the bell.
Saved by the bell by just a few seconds here, but you know what? You only got a few seconds to go back to your corner and try and catch your breath. And right now, at the pace that Hugs Dealer starting to find, especially we noticed more really doing a good job getting in there and closing that gap. And we saw a couple of times within the last few rounds, Sergio Martinez with their backs up against either the ropes or backed into a corner. And that plays into the favor of Hugs Dealer, especially with the scorecard looking the way that it is.
Absolutely does. That scorecard will be able to see it after this round as well and see how things are going. For Hugs Dealer, though, it's about keeping the pressure up. We know with Boxer Tricks what they can do with their range and what they can do, especially with this pick. But have been facing a lot of damage. That stamina bar starting to drip down towards the halfway marker, and hitting those lightning strikes definitely going to be big. But Hugs Dealer, again, just the spacing is perfect.
I feel like Hugs Dealer is doing this perfect balance of like, let me go ahead and stick and move where I can, get some points in, get some shots in, but then backs up into the point where Boxer Tricks can't even really take the advantage of the reach. Boxer Tricks then in turn needs to close the gap because they need to up the tempo, knowing that we're in this 6th round. We're about halfway through this fight, Llama, because we are going to let this thing fight out through the 12 if it happens to go the distance. But I mean, I think right now you've got to realize that Hugs, that you mentioned earlier, the stamina bar was looking a lot better than what we're looking at right now for Boxer Tricks from their side. Also, Boxer Tricks has taken quite a bit of damage, and they have not really gotten a chance to really recover.
Yeah, it really hasn't. I mean, head-in body damage here in this round starting to stack on up. And as you mentioned, with it going possibly all 12 rounds, there is the possibility that Boxer Tricks, either you have to relax in these next couple rounds and give Hugs Dealer a couple more points on the card, which you don't want to do, or go crazy in these next couple rounds and then possibly end up flat-footed. But a random headshot from the left, continuing the power, and knocks Hugs Dealer down for the second time.
A second knockdown here for Boxer Tricks, and I mean, this one's gonna be a pretty quick pickup here. Yeah, quick, fast, and in a hurry, right back up onto their feet here, Llama. So nothing really to worry about just quite yet for the side of Hugs Dealer. But for Boxer Tricks, I mean, you can see there, as much as you've gotten yourself 2 knockdowns, the face starting to open up a bit.
Definitely is, and honestly, getting to see this again, absolutely huge. I just feel like, even though, like we've talked about, Hugs Dealer very dominant in this matchup, Boxer Tricks knows distance. With those double knockdowns, we'll have to see the scorecard, and it's actually all tied up at 56.
Able to bring things back, especially that 4th round, a huge one for Boxer Tricks, and then just able to continue to close the gap. Halfway through this thing, Boxer Tricks has been able to grab the reins and really dictate the pace here through the last bit of the fight. But remember, here late, we did see that Hugs Dealer kind of prepped for this with securing that stamina. If they can really get in there and start really working that body, it could just rightly turn right back around.
It really could. Yeah, it could go either way. And honestly, for Hugs Dealer, like we said, has the stamina advantage. We'll have to see how it plays out at the late part of this round, as Boxer Tricks, not as much to deal with, only about half the bar left to go. But here in this round number 7, it could also be something where Boxer Tricks, you work off of those knockdowns. For Hugs Dealer, it might not be something where you're actually able to get a KO here in this fight. And for Boxer Tricks, that is still on the horizon.
Yeah, Boxer Tricks still has the ability to think that maybe you can still grab yourself one. I mean, obviously they become easier as the fight goes along once you've gotten yourself one, and then now a second here as well. And I think that's almost what is holding Hugs Dealer here at bay, right? It's almost waiting for Boxer Tricks to overextend or maybe try and get a little bit too far into a combo. But it's now Canelo who's closed the gap right there within the range. But you got to keep flurrying, my man. You got to hold on and got to keep sending those punches, because as for now, Boxer Tricks has been able to flip this ring back around and right back in the middle of it.
Yeah, right back in the middle of the ring. And you've mentioned it actually a couple of times. Some great escapes from Boxer Tricks out of some dangerous scenarios. Now, the situation not getting any better. Still has some big body damage. And against Saul Alvarez, it is not going to feel good. But the timer is going to feel good. 5 seconds left to go. You can see the end of the round in your sights and possibly going for a little extra flurry there right at the end. Ding, ding. And Hugstealer, a good response, I got to say, after that knockdown round.
Yeah, definitely a really good seventh round that came across there. And if you guys are enjoying the show so far, remember we've got 3 titles on the line here today. Make sure you're sharing with your friends. Tell somebody to tell somebody to tell somebody about it. So let's go ahead and get down into it. It's time for round number 8, and let's see if Hugstealer can come up here and really try and get back into that more, pushing the tempo and really trying to make Boxer Tricks uncomfortable.
I'm hoping to see it. Keep that tempo up. And yeah, like we said, an exciting event today. Everybody is going to want to see it. We want to keep on building up our community. And these amazing fighters are going to keep on going at it here, going into round number 8. We're heading into the back part of our fight here. Honestly, this is where things really do get exciting. You have the minimal stamina bars. You have the possibility of starting to get towards that flat-footed. You also have the possibility, like we've said for Boxer Tricks, you get a couple more knockdowns. Hugstealer, we know, is really proficient at getting back up, but you start to build those up and it can get tough.
Yeah, it actually helps really a lot on the scorecard as well, too, right? I mean, that's the other thing that would really work into your favor here. I mean, especially Hugstealer, we've seen at times they've gotten close to being able to really grind away. I mean, we're even seeing the health bar this time around on the head. It's blinking red, but we still haven't seen anything where it's close to a knockdown yet. This is where Hugstealer does have to start moving the pace and shifting the needle just a little bit. We saw earlier when the view was shifting back and forth, the stamina is still very much in favor of Hugstealer. They've got to use that to their advantage. 1 minute here left. You got to up the tempo.
Got to bring the tempo to the maximum. And for Boxer Tricks, honestly, just has to, feels like play safe right now. Has to drop that guard for a little bit, let the body, let the head reset on the damage. But for right now, again, Hugstealer, this is, again, the difference between a good and a great player. A player, why they have so many wins under their belt, is the ability to sense danger. The double cut on the left side of the head, not going to feel good combined with the body damage. But Hugstealer is backing off a little bit.
Yeah, Hugstealer's been kept at bay a few times there. I mean, part of it is just having to overcome the reach, and here just going to be able to keep that distance for the end of the round. That's the end of round number 8 here, Llama. So in these, 12 round fight, these are where I really like to call those meat and potato rounds, right? You can sometimes see those early rounds, the fight goes in one direction. Kind of like we saw here, it flips on its head in the back half of that, or back half of the first half of the fight. So this is where you can really set yourself up for the long haul here if this thing does go all 12 rounds. It feels like Hugs has been able to do that a little bit for them, especially with the fact that they've been able to stay up on their feet.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean that Boxer Tricks doesn't have the ability to turn things around, especially with one flash sort of knockdown.
That's true. Yeah, there's always that possibility in the back pocket. And like we said, because you've had the earlier knockdown, it does feel good. We did see the damage, though, in that screen. 3 cuts in total on Boxer Tricks' side is not going to feel good with 45% of that stamina bar heading here into round number 9. Hugstealer, I feel like, is just slowly chipping away, knows that I need to not go forward. I'm okay to play these rounds and play the score. I know I'm probably winning in the card.
Yeah, I mean, obviously understands when to push and, when to hold them, when to fold them, knows when to walk away, you know what I'm saying? And just knows how to be able to pick and choose their moments. And I mean, right now, just being able to continue to walk Boxer Tricks down, who's pretty well got their back up against the ropes. And even with that being the case for Hugstealer, I also like the fact that you're not overextending. Yeah. This thing can go 12 rounds. You're only in round number 9. You don't want to overgas yourself here with the big 3 rounds left.
Definitely don't want to exert all you have when, like you mentioned, these are really big rounds. This could be the decider. And honestly, for Boxer Tricks, taking a little bit more damage towards that skull, not feeling too good. Hugstealer maybe looking for some offense here a little bit late, but once again, the timing on which they choose to go forward, there's not too much left. The body is still strong here in this round for Boxer Tricks, so they can play a little bit more towards that body block. They should be safe.
It's interesting, usually we see the Canelo fighters really like to try and work the body, but it's been the head that continues to blink red over on the side of Boxer Tricks and never quite been able to find their way down onto the mat the way that we have seen Hugs Dealer take two different very quick trips down there. Red bars blinking over onto the side of Boxer Tricks, but saved by the bell.
The bell once again, the savior. We'll get to watch this little bit of a replay right at the end. The flurry coming in late from Hugs Dealer. And honestly, it's kind of like you said, targeting kind of the head a little bit more. But, you take what's open at the same time. There's those 3 cuts we were talking about, 2 on the left side and 1 on the right side.
Yeah, speaking of open, 3 of them things on the face. Looks like they've at least been able to control them just a little bit. But I mean, a little bit longer of a break here now at the 9-round marker. We'll also get to see that scorecard here in just a moment as well, Llama. Last time that we'll get to look at that thing before we get to the end of the fight, if this thing does happen to go the distance. And I feel like right now, if I'm Boxer Tricks, it's all about trying to find some way, somehow to land a big combo, because you gotta feel that if you get 2-3 good lickings in there, that's going to put Hugs Dealer back on the map for a 3rd knockdown. And that's kind of what you need to do here, down by 3 with 3 rounds left.
You're gonna need it. Like we said, there's no second chances today, so it is go all out. And honestly, under that 40% stamina marker is going to be really tough to work with for Boxer Tricks to even be able to find those flurries, find those openings when you're taking so much damage. But I like the opening. I like the little bit of damage, but you got to keep going.
Yeah, at this point, it's no longer about just chipping away at it. If you're Boxer Tricks, you've got to up the tempo. And the problem is, you can see in the bottom left-hand corner there, Llama, not much stamina to be working with. So you've got to really be efficient when you do decide to try and open things up. And right now, it seems like more when the openings come, it's when they are at that closer distance, which is really where Hugs Dealer wants to be.
Hugs Dealer wants to be right on in there. The little bit less reach we talked about at the beginning of the fight is Boxer Tricks going in. But again, the stamina bar already gone. Cannot follow it up because the risk is there. You get in and Hugs Dealer can punish, but there's a flash. Hugs Dealer is down for the 3rd time today.
The 3rd knockdown here. This should be a relatively quick recovery that comes across at the 6 count here for the side of Hugs Dealer, but that still definitely took a little bit longer than the first 2. And that 4th one should come a little bit quicker as well. If I'm Boxer Tricks here, these 40 seconds, it's got to be a flurry. You've got to go all out.
Yeah, you need to get as many points as you can in this round, looking to equalize things on through. Hugs Dealer, though, gonna play a little bit defensive as they recover all that health bar, and even with the minimal stamina, Boxer Tricks finding their entry. 10 seconds left to go as the double-digit rounds, the first one of them. 2 more to finish things out. A spot in the grand finals still on the line as the buzzer dings again.
There it is. We have now finished 10 rounds. 2 more here to go. We'll see a quick replay of the knockdown there in that 10th round. And, oh, man, Llama, it's getting close here. It looked like maybe if we saw Hugs Dealer able to come out and walk away with 1 more round, this was all but over. Instead, Boxer Tricks able to find a 3rd knockdown. For Boxer Tricks, though, it ain't over yet. You ain't out of this hole just quite yet. You still need to come out here, and it feels like it's no longer about the knockdown. It has to be a knockout.
It feels so, but it also does kind of feel to me it's only right now maybe a 1-point difference. If you imagine that's a 2-point round from Boxer Tricks, I might even be smelling a tie here at the end of round number 12. We'll have to see which way it goes. And again, for Hugs Dealer, I think it's just about consistency here in this next 2.
Yeah, you just got to continue to chuck away here if you're Hugs Dealer. You can see them playing aggressive as well. I think realizing maybe has still that advantage on the stamina side. Also probably realizes they want to get back 1 or 2 of those points that they just lost in round number 10, wanting to keep themselves ahead in the card. A big round win here. That could be it, though. A knockdown comes across from Hugs Dealer, and you can't help but wonder, with a first knockdown coming so late, how easy it will be to get back up. Looks like it should be a relatively quick recovery and up at the count of 5.
Up and up, but at the same time, that is rough. After you just got that knockdown on your opponent in round number 10, you get knocked down yourself. And honestly, I'm really happy to see Hugsdealer actually be able to capitalize off of one of those corner traps. Finally, 3 or 4 times we've seen Boxer Trick's skilled fighter be able to escape towards the middle. Not that time. And Hugsdealer, that could be the knockdown that seals the whole fight.
That just might be the one that seals it, honestly, especially being able to do so after a round where Boxer Tricks had to have been feeling pretty good in round number 10 to be able to come out here in round 11 and really just be able to pump the brakes. Now at this point, you just keep your distance, keep the gloves up. Don't allow for Boxer Tricks to sneak one by you here in the closing 3 seconds. And that means that we are going to go the distance, Llama, and we're going to a 12th round.
We are going the distance, and we'll get to see the replay again. The corner trap in the left to the skull. Absolutely dropping their opponent. Like we said, only for the first time, but this is it. Final round. Who is going to the grand finals?
Let's get on down into it here. I feel like as far as on the side of Hugsdealer, as long as you can keep yourself upright and vertical, you're fine. Which means Boxer Tricks really needs to find a way to up the ante. The only problem is doesn't have much gas left in the tank. Feels like Hugsdealer definitely favored in that advantage, and that does mean, especially when we do see Boxer Tricks try to close that gap, Hugsdealer should be able to punish him.
Hugsdealer should find those punishes, but man, it's skull for skull trade, bumping heads here in this final round. 2 minutes left to go, and both players just looking to pick up some points, especially for Boxer Tricks. You imagine who is down is going to have to go forward with that minimal stamina bar. We talked about it. Is that early effort going to be punished late? And with the body damage, it's so tough to go in without being countered.
It's really tough to try and make a move here, and especially in the side of Boxer Tricks, the way that the fighter pick works out. I mean, the long haul, the long play was Hugsdealer, especially for someone who does like to be the outboxer as well. I mean, right now in the driver's seat, and there's really not much Boxer Tricks can do, especially with the discipline that we're seeing from Hugs.
Discipline is there. 60 seconds left to go, and the question is, can the consistency stay? It is going to just be a defensive posture right now from Hugsdealer, saying, come forward, I've got the range to fight you back at that close little power. And it's down to only about half a minute. The block is damaged, the head is damaged, but Boxer Tricks has to go forward.
Boxer Tricks, and you can see they're walking them down, trying to see if they can send a barrage of punches their way. It looked like that right did connect, sending some big hooks now in as well, but the glove's going to be able to deflect those. 6 seconds. Boxer Tricks, you need the knockout here, but I don't think you're going to need to be able to pull it off. And after 12 rounds, that should favor Hugsdealer.
We'll see the scorecard right at the end, and there it is, a victorious Hugsdealer piloting that Alvarez and using that short-range burst in the corner traps, able to come out victorious. And honestly, a really good fight, I gotta say, Q. It might not have been the 9 or 10 knockdowns, whatever we had for the last fight of the night in the previous event, but it was consistency versus those bursts from Boxer Tricks of explosiveness.
Yeah, for Hugsdealer, it was starting off strong. You ended strong as well. You bookended this fight the way that you need to if you're trying to become the European champion over here. And you're already halfway there if you are a Hugsdealer. Now it's going to be about figuring out who they are going to be fighting up against. But even when you're looking at the scorecard here, gotta say, I mean, it just seems to me that it was a close fight there, but Hugsdealer, just, you mentioned the consistency. That's the word that stands out to me.
Yeah, consistency was there, and honestly, just the know-how to pilot it again, just knowing how to battle against that range was just absolutely perfect. And honestly, to say as well, the ability to bounce back, even after getting knocked down 1, 2, 3 times. I know it's a corny saying, but it's not about how many times they get knocked down. It's about how many you get back up and keep on fighting.
I mean, the whole Chumbawamba thing? Yeah, get knocked down, you get up again. Yeah, I feel it. Really good fight there to start things off. We mentioned early on how it was hopefully maybe a nice little appetizer to things here. I'm hoping that's going to be the case. But I mean, we're seeing as far as our highlights, it really kind of displays just how close it was. I mean, we've seen some nice knockdowns. You mentioned especially on the side as far as for Boxer Tricks. I mean, that moment got those flash knockdowns. It's just for Hugstealer, it was about slowly walking things down, continuing to keep the control. And I feel like when we get deeper into tournaments, we're now in the top 4 for our European Championship. We're about to be into our top 2. It's the consistency that's really going to separate the best from the rest.
Consistency is one of those most important things. Mastery of a bunch of different fighters, like we said, those bans are going to be important as well. But honestly, just love to see how much, like you mentioned, as Boxer Tricks was able to battle back and make it a great fight that recognized, okay, when he goes in, I have those opportunities for big ranged counters, for the ability to get some of those knockdowns. And honestly, if he didn't expend so much stamina in those earlier rounds, it could have been a lot closer.
It could have been closer, but I also can't help but wonder if in some of those rounds where, especially in those like 4 to 6 round markers where you were expending a lot, if you were able to push that needle a little bit more, especially in some of those rounds, get that second knockdown in the same round, how much things could have turned around there for them as well. It's one of those things where the separation is literally that much. But you know what? Our first fight is down. It's time for us to get ourselves 2 more fighters in the ring and figure out which of those 2 will be squaring off against Hugstealer for the European Championship. We'll be back after a quick break. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
And we are back, still here at the Ethlete Championship Series for our event number 3, the Ascension. Still Llama and Q up here on the desk, and all day long, in case you missed our beautiful faces, we are still here. Q, an amazing first fight, and already a contender for Fight of the Night. How you feeling?
I mean, that was a good one, man. It was one that definitely went back and forth. I thought early maybe there was Hugs Dealer, off to a big start of a lead, maybe was just going to control the pace, but then all of a sudden we saw Boxer Tricks able to really hone things in, able to get some knockdowns, get a fight back on the scorecard. And I think those are the type of fights that I do enjoy the most. As much as I do like seeing literally like the rounds back and forth, like the one for ones, when you see a fighter start to get in their mode and they have that potential. We saw Boxer Tricks there in rounds 4 through 6. You get yourself 2 knockdowns, and I think it was back-to-back rounds. You wonder how quickly might they be able to end things, and instead Hugs turns things around, puts on a masterclass.
Absolutely does. I mean, a masterclass from both players to even get towards that 12th round after multiple knockdowns from either side. I do gotta say, exciting to see. Like we said, these players had to work through conference play to even get towards this position. We expected high-flying fireworks, and especially from someone from Hugs Dealer who, like we said, has that chip on their shoulder, wants to try and get their second opportunity at getting the belt. The question will be, now who is going to be their opponent?
Yeah, we get to figure out who is their opponent between Ghetto IP as well as our other fighter on the other side is going to be Donnie. Two fighters who combined together through conference play only lost one fight, which is kind of wild. Quite a few KOs between the two as well. Should be fun to see how this one plays out. I feel like as much as you figure, 1 versus 4 compared to the 2 versus 3, maybe this is a little bit more of a wide open fight. I wouldn't expect it. I would expect this one as well to go the distance.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I want to go the distance. I want to see some overtime, some extra rounds, whatever we can get. But important for you guys, if you want to see the fights from inside the ring, if you want to participate in the next event, make sure you guys are joining the Discord, get involved, get in some conference play, and maybe contest for one of those belts as well. We've also got a giveaway going on today. You got to go check out the website, athletecs.com. You can join our Discord, and new members will be entered into an Amazon gift card giveaway.
Yeah, enter yourself in for a chance. Who doesn't love some free Amazon spending? I don't know about you. Amazon's one of my guilty pleasures, man. When I find things that are on sale and I got me a little bit of extra cash money in the pocket, it don't last in there very long. You know what I'm saying? So if you get yourself a little chance to get yourself a free gift card, you might as well check out the website, see what it's all about. And also, while we have ourselves a moment between our semifinal fights, if you haven't done so yet, do me a favor, share it with your friends, whether it's over on social media, share it up on your page. Also, even make sure that you're hitting the hitting the follow button down there if you haven't already done so as well. But we talked about it. Donnie versus Ghetto IP, our second semifinal matchup here of the evening, working towards being able to crown our European champion here, Lam.
I'm excited. I mean, we not only get to crown that champion, we'll also have those championship fights a little bit later today. And obviously, of course, his spot in the grand final is on the line, but also, like we talked about, reputation on the line. You don't want to wait another month to have to battle through conference play to try and get your chance at one of those belts. You want to do it right here.
It's interesting, you know, Donnie came into this thing and the whole thought process behind it in the tournament was, I'm just going to do my best. And look at it. You're already one of the top 4 when it comes to the European Championship. You're one fight away from being in the finals, which means you're one fight away from calling yourself the champion here. So I feel like for someone who maybe walked in with such low expectations to be this far, maybe that means you get to play free and loose here. Whereas on the other side, I mean, Ghetto IP, I think, has some expectations coming in at the number 1 seed. You don't want to fall out in the semifinals. So maybe that additional pressure just might be the difference.
Well, we'll see how the pressure is dealt with on either side as we are hopping on into our second semifinal of the day. Also important to know, we're watching out. We also want you guys out in chat watching for the fight of the night, an extra $50 and that title on the line. This one could be a fight of the night as well.
Off to another weight class here as well. I always love seeing the diversity in the picks, and whenever we see the lighter weight classes, I feel like that's when you see more of the tactical boxing. It's not so much about the swinging for the fences and trying to land something big. It really is about fighting on the scorecard.
It really is. Yeah, it's getting down in the weeds, seeing that consistency that we talked about in those first fights, and more importantly, already some early shots. It will be kind of interesting to see. We are only going 10 rounds. We're not going the 12 rounds until we get back towards the final. So we'll see if the stamina bars can just be burned a little bit earlier and not punished as much.
Some big punches thrown onto either side. I think one thing to keep in mind also in the lower weight classes, sometimes you'll see the body shake a little bit more after a big combo. Doesn't not quite necessarily mean they're close to getting knocked down. However, big combo coming out here from the side of Khan. And I was talking about the potential of no knockdown, but there's our first one in round 1.
That's a crazy way to start things out. And you talk about the pressure. You talk about the expectations of the number 1 seed. I think they just proved them right there for Ghetto IP. What a way to start things out. And honestly, I love to see already finding those tactical strikes.
Yeah, I mean, really found the opening and absolutely busted the door down when it came to taking advantage. You do see Donnie still trying to lead with that right hand here, trying to see if, as far as you can use a little bit of a way to close the gap and then follow up with another shot, because you do suffer a little bit of a deficit in the reach here to Amir Khan. Only a couple of centimeters. It's not much, but end of round number 1. And with a knockdown, definitely feels like you got to give at least a point advantage over to Ghetto IP.
Oh, yeah. I mean, possibly 2 as well to start things off would be really, really good already as a confidence booster. But of course, it's a long fight. For Donnie, we know a very experienced player has the ability to work things back. And that's what I honestly want to see. Use the advantages on the other side of Josh Taylor, especially you have a little bit more of that vitality stat. You actually have a little bit more beefiness overall. So we'll have to see if they can use that long endurance to their advantage.
See if they can use that endurance, use that thing to their advantage and let this thing go the distance and kind of in the similar way to that last fight we just saw. See where the fight changes in those middle rounds. However, right now, both of these boys standing toe to toe, trying to go blow for blow. Neither of them willing to
Oh,
back down, and really, especially on the side of Ghetto IP, slowly walking this thing down all the way, trying to put Josh Taylor up against the side of the ring.
trying to trap him in the corner. We saw that in the previous fight. It's a great strategy and honestly some great counters there from Donnie. Low on the head health, has to try and go for the counters. And I really love what Ghetto's actually doing with the side steps, with the back steps to be able to dodge away from some of those bigger strikes and then just go in with counters, not go in for a flurry necessarily, but still do some good damage.
Yeah, just really trying to find the positions to be able to at least poke and prod for the damage, right? That's the big thing right now that I feel like working to their advantage. We're halfway through round number 2 here, and still kind of been a little bit of a back and forth. I am waiting to see where Josh Taylor might be able to pop off, and we do know has the ability to be a knockout artist, but I mean, with the pace right now that Ghetto IP is playing at, to be able to almost at times feels like try and bait the player of Josh Taylor to just kind of jump into that kill zone a little bit and then make him absolutely pay has been really fun to watch here for the first 2 rounds.
It's been pretty fun. 30 seconds left to go and fun still to be had with 8 more possible rounds here in this one. You do have to kind of question for Donnie, is that first knockdown in that round number 1 going to be dangerous later on? We know it gets tougher and tougher for that quick time event to actually catch those bars and actually stand back on up, but we'll see what Ghetto can do to keep the pressure going. Some good damage and honestly a pretty even round towards the end. Some great trades flying back and forth.
Yeah, honestly, I felt like that last round, especially towards the end there, Donnie doing a good job of fighting on back. Maybe even doing just enough to swing that second round into their favor here. But of course, we won't get a chance to glance at the scorecard until after round number 3. Speaking of round number 3, our boxers ready to get right back down on into it. Let's get down and let's get dirty.
Down to round number 3, and importantly, after this one, we will get to see that scorecard. We'll get to see how much of an impact that early first round knockdown had on Donnie's point deficit, but already some good damage. You see, after possibly losing that second round, it is Ghetto moving their way forward, head and body damage in the combination, but takes a strike back, has to slow things down in the middle of the ring, though.
Has been able to slow it down just a little bit. That's been the good news for Donnie, but you'll see the bar blinking a little bit, leads in with 2 right hands, lands the first, not quite the second, just trying to kind of feel the waters a little bit of a temperature check there, and tries to come in with a big left hand, not going to be able to find it on the side of Donnie. Meanwhile, on the side of, we look at Ghetto IP, continues to get kind of a nice little chip damage here and there, able to land 1, sometimes 2, nice little left hand there to the face, just to be able to keep Donnie back.
Trying to keep him away and honestly doing some good consistent damage. It is going to be Ghetto slowing things down again. Really good position in the middle of the ring and a great shot to the head. Dangerous scenario. Donnie needs to play defensive, but will get some counter attacks on in. With only a minute left to go, could possibly be saved by the bell, but at this point, it's the early rounds. You don't want to be saved. You want to be the opponent to have to be the one to be saved. You need to get some damage here in this round.
Yeah, you would love to really be able to up the tempo here and try and fight your way on back as far as on the damage meter, especially here, knowing that you're the one who suffered a knockdown, but 2 left hands from Ghetto IP says, hey, slow it down for a minute. No. Nice right shot to the body as well, and that's going to be another knockdown. That's 2 of them things in the first 3 rounds.
Should be able to get right on back up, trying to find the rhythm, but not too great is what it's going to feel like on that scorecard after the knockdowns in both round 1 and round number 3. The bell will ding, though, and we'll get to take a little bit of a pause. It is actually a 5-point deficit, as to be expected with those 2 knockdowns. We've seen it time and time again where you lose 2 points in those rounds, but to lose that second round as well is really hurtful.
Yeah, I thought maybe that second round was going to be enough there towards the back end of it for Donnie to at least take that one, but those 2 knockdowns giving 2-point swings in both the first and third round, opening up here for another potential knockdown, but able to find a little bit of room. No, ends up going down to another body shot. 3 knockdowns and 4 rounds. And you talked about how it gets a little bit harder to be able to recover in these situations. Should be able to get up, but is definitely getting closer towards that 10 count.
Yeah, the bars are starting to get smaller. The time's starting to be less and less. And as you mentioned now, 3 knockdowns in just 4 rounds, and Donnie's going to be able to recover. It is going to be a great positioning play so far. And again, always taking the mid part of that ring, forcing Donnie back into the corners. And the damage is there again. This could be a double knockdown round. The body shots fly, the headshot connects, and down goes Donnie.
Oh man, now a second knockdown in the same round. This is where things get tough. 9. Recovers just in time here. Is going to be able to keep themselves up on the feet, but man, you can't help but wonder with 40 seconds left. What?
We're battling. We're battling, baby. Body shot, flash knockdown, and onto the knees for Ghetto as the 5 count reigns in. What an exciting round. 3 knockdowns in total. And I gotta say, I was gonna ask some questions about Donnie, the endurance for later to see these knockdowns starting to pay, but you always know the danger cue as Amir Khan with that human highlight reel. Just one strike can put you on the ground.
Yeah, one strike can be absolutely lethal with the human highlight reel there, and I'm getting ready to roll into ourselves another round. I can't help but think that knockdown there from Donnie going to be absolutely huge, because the 2 knockdowns, remember, just the 1 knockdown was giving a 2-point difference as far as on the scorecard. The double knockdown would have been huge in the scorecard. There for Donnie to at least be able to rectify with one of his own, huge. Lets you kind of hold on by a straw here, but you've got to turn things around in round number 5.
Really does feel that way. I mean, sure, you've technically got a possible 5 rounds left, but you're probably down 7-ish points at this moment on the scorecard. And there's another great headshot. It is Ghetto just firing on all cylinders and taking Donnie down again.
Just absolutely continuing to be relentless, landing big shot after big shot. This time around, going to be able to get back up to the feet at 7 here. But you know what? That first knockdown came relatively early into this round. Round number 5 still has a whole half of it left, and you can't help but wonder if Ghetto IP is able to put him night-night just one more time, if that might be the last.
Could be it. We'll see how much Donnie has left in the tank. Some good counterattacks to at least play the defense, but man, that head damage is just tough. You can see the damage over time as well. Only has about 3/4 of his total head damage bar left there, so it is just a tough scenario to play in, and being down that many points, you just know you have to go forward when you don't want to.
I think he's opened up too, if I'm not mistaken, just a little bit over that right eye, and Ghetto IP continues to be absolutely landing some precision shots with that left hand, always opening things up and sometimes finishing it as well after the combo. And I mean, for right now, for Donnie, you got to find some way to up the tempo. You would love to find a way to fight things back, but with the way that you've already taken a knockdown, you just got to be able to stand upright.
Got to be able to stay standing as Zeros hit the buzzer once again, and you were correct. Cut over the right eye, going to start to swell on up. At the same time, you're still standing. At this point, like we said, Khan has that one disadvantage of the human highlight reel that can just change the fight in a snap. But it just feels like you have to work into his range. You have to go forward, and that's exactly what Ghetto wants.
Bro, Ghetto IP is chilling right now. Not even sucking wind or nothing. Meanwhile, Donnie's like, bro, I'm bleeding. I can't keep my breath going right now. It's going to be tough here fighting into this round number 6. You know, the scorecard's working against you. Your body working against you as well. And Ghetto IP, I mean, he's just vibing, playing with confidence, being able to really close the gap anytime that they want and open up those big combos, has put them on the map time and time again.
Well, we'll see how the map continues to be explored here. After this next 6th round, we'll be able to see the scorecard. And honestly, for Donnie, I don't think it's needing to see the scorecard to make those adaptations. You talk about maybe needing to find a few rounds to find their flow, finding a knockdown there in the earlier ones, and starting to get some good counterattacks. And I like to see this from Donnie. You're not out of this fight. You might be down. You might have been knocked down a couple times, but you got to keep going.
I mean, Single elimination. You don't have the ability to worry about like a lower half of a bracket. You've got to find some way to up the ante, up the tempo, able to find a knockdown with a nice left shot to the body, a nice straight there. Should be pretty easy. Ghetto IP to get on up, but in a similar fashion, like we were talking, hello? Oh, similar fashion we were talking in that last round. It is a knockdown that's relatively early into the round. And for Donnie, that could be the catalyst here. You turn things around, get 2 knockdowns in round number 6 before you see the scorecard. You see that you're starting to turn things around going into the meat potato rounds. That could be absolutely huge for the mental.
It absolutely could. And you're also kind of seeing from Donnie's side, you might be feeling, okay, it's taken Ghetto actually a long time to get up off of those knockdowns. 6 seconds on the first one, 8 seconds on the second one. Maybe that could be the killer on the third one. So find your moments. Don't walk into those punches as much and start to find that momentum. Donnie, you're really starting to find their flow.
Donnie's starting to find the flow, but Ghetto IP still finding a way to work the body and being able to still find some big lefts to the head as well, which have been able to continue to keep Donnie at bay. Donnie doesn't have the ability to really up the tempo. Nice little left that comes across there from Donnie, though, which does leave Ghetto IP shook for just a moment. Final 20 seconds here. You feel like if you're Donnie, you've got to start a flurry. See if maybe you just might be able to catch Ghetto IP and put him on the map once more before the end of this round.
Oh, getting the damage. We'll have to see if it can be done, but it just feels like the buzzer right around the corner. Both fighters drop the guard right at the end of it. So, I mean, just huge stuff there to be able to find the counter. And what we were talking about for those early rounds, it was actually Ghetto controlling the middle, controlling the ring. It feels like Donnie has started to find a little bit more of that spacing and controlling the ring a lot better.
Yeah, Donnie's definitely found a way to really kind of establish themselves in the middle of the ring without really allowing for Ghetto IP to close on in the way that they were earlier within the fight. I don't know if it's just more about reading and recognizing the kind of tempo that we do see from Ghetto IP, but I mean, man, I feel like right now, especially with when we see the scorecard, I'm curious just how far of a lead Ghetto IP has. Because remember, we'll see the scorecard one more time, Llama, before the end of this fight. But it's only going into the last round, which means at that point, you either know if you need a knockout or not. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And I mean, I think we talked about at this point, it'd be interesting to see right here in a second. Yeah, down 7. So still a large number. Did win that other round. So not feeling too bad. Has some momentum, but it feels like to me, it's got to be a KO. And honestly, for Donnie, like we said, it could be that Ghetto is a little bit weaker on those quick time events. You catch him 1 or 2 more times, especially with Khan's weakness in the human highlight reel. It could be an opening that you seek.
Big left hand, it looked like at least caused a little bit of a flash. Not a big one, but just enough to put Ghetto IP onto the back foot, slowly working their way back in the corner. They're not going to have too much further to go. You can see right now Donnie doing a good job of trying to keep them in there. It is going to be slip on out and Ghetto IP back towards the middle of the ring. 1 minute gone by in round number 7, and now it's a flurry of a couple of quick shots towards the face, most of them being deflected here by Donnie, but that doesn't stop the pressure being moved forward by Ghetto IP.
Ghetto putting the pressure in, and I like to see it. Honestly, again, when we talk about what makes a great player is being able to bounce back after losing a round, being able to bounce back after being knocked down, and again, that huge left controlling the middle of the ring as Donnie tries to work around it. It does feel like a little bit more back and forth, but Ghetto still controlling this round, and with that 7-point lead, Donnie's going to have to use one of these rounds to go all out here soon.
Yeah, I mean, Donnie at this point, with 4 rounds being left and this one being pretty well gone, you can't rely on 2-point differential rounds back-to-back rounds. You've got to find a way to put Ghetto IP down here on the map. We haven't really seen him being able to put him anywhere close towards the mat here in round number 7. We saw that very quick kind of flash earlier, but I mean, otherwise, Ghetto IP just kind of playing discipline. At this point, knows they've got the scorecard in their favor and that the pressure truly is on Donnie.
Pressure is on Donnie, and they know it. A couple of big strikes to the head, a couple of strikes to the body, that uppercut hitting right in the ribs there. Doesn't eventually get that knockdown, but I gotta say, man, Donnie's resilience. Me after playing this fight, after getting knocked down, 3-4 times in those earlier rounds, I don't know that I could play it out, but Donnie really, resilient. It's what we love to see from an underdog story, and maybe, just maybe, can use that damage to their advantage.
I mean, maybe they can use the damage to their advantage, but it's going to be tough here. It's going to be a really uphill battle, Llama. And I mean, you can see has no problem going toe-to-toe in the middle of the ring, trying to see if they just might be able to find a lucky shot landed or not. And I mean, we've seen a couple of big swings, especially with that right hand from the front side. And I mean, I feel like if you were going to be able to get a knockdown, especially in their opening minute of a round, like round number 8, that would be absolutely huge for Donnie. Looking to try and find the KO, but hasn't been able to find an opening yet.
Not quite the opening that they seek. It is going to be some more damage that Donnie has to play around. And honestly, again, it just feels like these mid-round timers are really tough. That has to wait until the final 30 until that damage has healed. And that's just a little bit too late to try and find that knockdown, it feels like. The early round damage really flying in through from Ghetto, a couple of trades here and there. But again, Donnie doing well to start to get better positioning in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, Donnie's positioning definitely has improved throughout the course of this fight. The only problem is positioning doesn't quite necessarily get you points, especially when you end up on your back on the mat. Big shot here, and that is going to be it.
Yeah, I mean, just tough. With those red bars, it is going to be all but done. KO flying on in here after all the knockdowns. Finally, Ghetto will get their victory on the Amir Khan, moving towards the grand final.
My boy Donnie hit him with the T-pose once he hit the match. You see that, man? He wasn't moving. He was donezo. He was tired of getting put on the mat, and you can't blame him. Ghetto IP keeping up the pressure pretty well from the word go. And I mean, the scorecard pretty well reflects just how dominant of a fight he had.
It was dominant, had some really good knockdowns, and started the fight early. That's what we were kind of hearing, though, was it takes Donnie a few rounds to actually get in towards their flow, and those first couple rounds was just absolutely taken advantage of by Ghetto. We saw some great life, and I gotta say, for a player that has 300 wins under their career belt, Donnie really bringing the firepower to at least make the fight exciting in the midpoint.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, showed a little bit of fight within him, taking down the number 1 seed, able to put him down the mat, 2 times, and one of them being relatively close, an 8 count. But I mean, at the end of the day, when you suffer a knockdown in the first round, the way that we saw, unfortunately, Donnie did, you are playing from a deficit for the rest of the fight.
It's tough coming back from that, especially on, like we said, against an Amir Khan pick that can just pump out so much damage. And honestly, I like to see the flash KOs and like to see the human highlight reel popped here and there. But again, you know the dangers when you're picking Khan, and honestly, you just out damage your opponent, and it's able to do enough to counteract that. So I will say, for future and maybe looking on to the grand finals, Ghetto has to be a little bit careful in those quick time events with letting the timer get up pretty high.
Yeah, definitely a voice of concern if you happen to find a fighter who can put you on the mat more consistently than we saw Donnie was able to. But I also feel like for Ghetto IP, came out here and showed why they are indeed the 1 seed. It was just able to come out and, I mean, from the word go, really able to dictate the pace of the ring. They were able to really control the fight, and not just with the knockdowns. I mean, it really was just the pace and the consistency of what they were able to land their shots.
Consistency was there, and honestly, for Donnie to even, like we said, to make it towards this point, to battle through such a tough field of fighters in conference play, it's an achievement nonetheless. So we'll have to see the future for Donnie, and honestly, again, another returning player that I'd love to see back in one of those future events. Of course, for Ghetto IP, that means they are going to the grand finals, and that grand finals is going to be really exciting. I know we're going to be excited about it, Q, but you guys out there, your friends are probably going to want to see this as well. Share it to everybody you know. Keep on building this community out. Let's get some people in here for the grand finals.
Yeah, man, let's pump this thing up, pump up the noise, pump up the volume. We had 2 semifinal matchups to start off this card. Our next 3 fights are all going to be championship fights, Llama. It should be awesome. We might just need an extra minute or 2 to kind of get through our picks and bans in the Boxster, so do give us just a moment for that. But hey, while we are on the break, make sure you're checking out the website as well, EthleteCS.com. Go over there. We're doing an Amazon gift card giveaway to any viewer who does join the Discord over there too. Winners are going to be selected randomly jump up in there, grab yourself a quick drink, maybe grab some popcorn, because this promises to be a banger for the European Championship. We'll be back right after this.
And we are back, still here at the Ethlete Championship Series for our third event, the Ascension. And it is time to crown some champions. We've got 3 championship fights left on the docket, Q, and we've got some title defenders and a new title holder to be crowned.
We started off with 2 semi-final matchups, which at least give us our matchup for our first finals that we are about to be tuning into, and that's for the first time we're going to be crowning ourselves a European champion. Should be really fun to see which of these two between Ghetto IP and Hugs. But before we jump to that, let's just keep in mind that we also are going to get to see our Undisputed Champion as well as our US Championship both on the line here after this as well. So 3 championship matches. We've had 2 amazing fights that have kind of displayed the 2 differences of what you can kind of expect in an event like this. Either a kind of a quicker pace knockout that has a whole bunch of knockdowns like we did see in that last fight between Donnie and Ghetto IP, or it could be a true boxing clinic like we saw in that first semifinal matchup between Boxer Tricks and Hugs Dealer. So Hugs Dealer versus Ghetto IP, kind of the long play versus the quick and painful route here of Ghetto IP. Gonna be interested to see which of these 2 is gonna be able to come out on top.
It's going to be really, really good. I think the combination, like you said, of fighting styles would be really important. We've also, like we said, we've got the championship fights a little bit later today. The return of Gangstology and iPro, 2 of the greatest to ever do it. But this matchup going to be exciting. Like we both said, the merging of these different styles, the number 1 and number 2 seed expected to meet here in the grand finals. There's a title and some money on the line.
There's a title, there's some money, there's some, most importantly, I feel like, especially after being around this community for a while, the bragging rights also on the line here between Hugs Dealer and Ghetto IP. Another matchup that features 2 boxers that during conference play between the 2 of them experienced just 1 loss. Between the 2 of them and the 26 matches that they had, 17 knockouts. So this could be, again, for Hugs Dealer, another one where you take the distance and try and put the scorecard in your favor. Or for Ghetto IP, could be trying to finish that knockout very, very early.
Definitely could be a quick or a long match. Like we said, this one could go either way. I do gotta feel like we're going to lightweight, I have heard, for this fight, so maybe a little bit more potential for these players to bring out something new. It's also important, like we said, Q, being that number 1 seed, being Ghetto, maybe Hugs Dealer doesn't have as much experience with the lightweight. You get to pick your class. We saw that actually in the last event with actually going towards the women's fighting weights.
Yeah, we saw where it happened to be. How deep was your bag? How deep was your fighter pool? And, you know, not sure that's going to be the case here, but sometimes when it gets to those championship matches, that is indeed what it's all about. We know that these 2 fighters, they got that dog in them. That's why they're here. 2 fighters that know how to be able to put people up onto the mat. I do want to ask for your patience here, y'all, just for one moment while we try and make sure that we get everyone in. Not only get them in, but get everything clean for y'all so we can have a nice feed going for this. What I expect to be, Llama, a 12-round knockout, drag-em-out fight.
I expect more than 12 rounds. I think we go 18.
Running it back.
I think we want some extra rounds on top of that for the cherry on top. But yeah, no, to be real, I feel like it's going to be a good back and forth. I think it'll be really interesting to see which picks they also do for the lightweight category as well. I also think it's important for us to make our pick on fight of the night.
True.
At the end of the day. An extra $50 Renos and the title of fight of the night going to 2 of these fighters here today. It's also important, you guys on Twitch, that let us know so far which one you think has been the fight of the night, and at the end of the day, which one you guys think is the fight of the night.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, we do pick it, you and I, right? Like, we get to pick it, but I feel like when we see a bunch of the same matchup that is in chat, that is something that definitely lets us know that we should probably lean towards that. Question: which way are you leaning towards it right now, Llama? Would you venture to say that last fight from Ghetto IP, who happened to be able to pull things off relatively quickly? Or do you feel like that first fight that went the distance is more your favorite of fight of the night?
It's a tough choice. I mean, I think we've talked about their record. We've talked about their position to be able to get even towards this right now. I feel like it's very tough, and I feel like it's going to be a very close fight. I think that just for how much I've seen of Hugs, again, we've seen him now 2 events with the consistency, being able to take Gangstology, one of the best, like we've talked about, to ever do it, towards all of those rounds and be able to battle back towards it. I just feel like I've seen Hugs more. I've seen them play consistent for a little bit more. I think I take Hugs by just a little bit, but at the same time, it's just so tough for me to pick.
It is definitely tough to pick here. I think this is going to be a knockout Dragon Ball as far as for this one. It's also far fight of the night. I think this next one might even be a fight of the night candidate for me, mostly just because it is kind of 2 different fighting styles. You know what I mean? So should be intriguing to see how this one plays out. Talk about lightweight. Now that we do get the picks and bans as far as our fighters, Llama, right? Last time we saw the lightweight come out, we saw Amir Khan and we saw Josh Taylor. Do you think we see similar fighter picks, or what's your kind of thought process there?
It'll be interesting because with the bans, it does kind of cut out some of the top ones you're always seeing in online play, but Amir Khan's very strong. I think especially when we talk about the human highlight reel, it's something you're like, okay, whatever. It's like 5% where it's never going to happen. I'll be totally fine. But at the same time, it does just bring a lot of striking power. So there's a lot of picks though. Overall, lightweight is one of those categories that has just a ton of fighters. It's not super limited. So maybe you're one of those that has a pocket pick that says, okay, maybe I pull this out that my opponent doesn't know of.
We have seen that here in the past where we've seen kind of some of those pocket picks, so should be interesting to see if that comes in. Obviously, if we're going to lightweight, you figure Amir Khan has to get brought back out again, right? You feel like that almost has, well, unless maybe you decide you want to ban that. I'm not really sure. I don't know. We'll figure out who they're going to be picking for those fighters, and we'll be bringing this finals matchup for the European Championship to y'all. We're going to take ourselves a quick break, figure things out in the background, and we'll be back right after this.
And we are back, still here at the Ethlete Championship Series for our 3rd event, the Ascension, and we are getting ready to go to crown our EU Champion after having both those semifinals earlier today. Q, we had a lot of build-up already and got to talk about this, but man, this fight is going to be exciting.
This fight should be an absolute banger, man. I mean, we said it earlier, between the two, they've only lost 1 fight in the conference play that started earlier in June. I mean, 2 players who are both known, who can go the distance when they need to, but both also know how to be able to really punish you if you do happen to overextend. So both very disciplined fighters. So I'm gonna be intrigued to see if one of these fighters maybe rises to the challenge and just able to kind of put that extra little umph in to make the other uncomfortable.
That's very true. You know, what you have in your, not only your fighter bag of tricks, but also in your playstyle bag of tricks that you could bring towards this ring. I also got to say that it's going to be interesting to see between these 2 fighters. We talked about in the previous fight that maybe there's a little bit of pressure on you as the #1 seed. It doesn't feel like there's as much here in this fight. That IP, this was kind of the expected fight. Now it's just even to see who could do better.
This is the expected fight, and then you are also going against the fighter who came up as our runner-up in our last event. So as much as maybe you are the higher seed here,
alongside me, English fighting legend Johnny Nelson.
Expected to be here. But let's go ahead and get on down into it. We're going down to the lightweight,
it's
and
time
we are
for our
not
tale
seeing
of the tape.
Khan brought
It's
back
King
out. I wonder
Rye,
if that's a fighter that maybe happened to get banned or what the deal is. We'll see if we can get that picked up in the back. But Ryan Garcia versus Terrence Crawford. Llama, thoughts?
It's interesting. I was definitely expecting the Amir Khan to come on through, but of course, being maybe an outboxer, maybe, excuse me, you're not an outboxer type of player. So going with the boxer puncher for both of them, I do got to say Terrence Crawford better overall in the stats by 6. So we'll see how much that does affect things.
Yeah, I think that was the first thing that really stood out to me, right? Was the difference as far as the overall. But when you look as far as Ryan Garcia, I mean, I think the big thing is one has the tireless, also with the punches and bunches, maybe looking to try and go more of the outclassing style and really expecting this thing to go to distance. And maybe you're hoping to kind of rely on that here.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it has a lot of the good power of the combos. I also do think it's going to be really interesting to see with Terrence Crawford, you can do the switch hitter. You can get, you don't lose any of the bonuses from playing either of the styles. So we'll see if that can be maybe a change up of the flow, see if that could be maybe a mid-game change, or if you can start the fight in one style and maybe change it up on your opponent in the middle.
See what goes on here, but we got both of our fighters walking into the arena here, Llama. We started off with 4. We now have 2. Only one can crown themselves champion here and be able to call themselves the ECS European Champion. This promises to be a goodie. One last check. We still expecting this thing to go 12?
I've said it. I know it. I know I'm kind of joking around, but I wanted to go.
You want to go
man.
overtime. You feeling that, huh?
Oh, I'm really feeling it. I love it, but I do really think this is going 12, unless I do gotta say a slight asterisk to that. If Ghetto can perform as well as they did in the previous fight, if they get knockdowns in, the first, third, and fourth round, it could be over quick.
You would like to see either of... See, but that's the thing I feel like, especially from what we've seen through the first couple of events, and now we're obviously about halfway through our third event here for the Ascension. That kind of seems to be the play, right? It's one of those things where either you happen to have one go the distance, or you do happen to have a fighter that falls a little behind and just cannot stop themselves from finding themselves on the mat. But let's go ahead and get down and do what it do. A 12-round finals here to crown ourselves a champion.
Crowning the champion, the money on the line, the pride as well, and already Ghetto gonna start to open things up. Also, like we said, for Ugstealer, just has to be a little bit careful overall with those less little bit of statistics. We'll have to see if that does start to affect things. As already going on in, Ghetto likes to come out flying and really doesn't take any time to get in their groove.
Yeah, it doesn't take any time at all. It just comes on out swinging heavy, and with the Terrence Crawford pick, you can definitely understand it. I mean, you are given a whole 10 centimeters on the reach. You obviously got the same weight at the 135, but the reach being so much different, you can just kind of start with a kind of nice little straight and then close the gap if you really want to go for those more power swings, and working the body with a nice little mix in as well. Right now, we're seeing just a nice little clinic.
Nice little clinic on board. The patient is in. Ugstealer having to take some of that damage back, and honestly a little bit of back and forth to start us out. I do like to see the punches and bunches being activated. That extra damage you do get from that is nice. However, for Ghetto, actually taking a couple of headshots here late. So Q, this round to me actually going pretty even so far.
Yeah, I think right now you are seeing Ugstealer doing enough that what would help them on the scorecard for sure, but these final 30 seconds, I think, especially with the way that we saw him open up, don't be surprised if we see one last push forward from Ghetto IP, try and land one nice big combo. However, it's Ugstealer who's landed a couple in their own right.
Couple back and forth. It's like we said, very even. A couple of good flurries right at the end, though. And again, just hitting the headshots when going in for the body. Ugstealer exposed there a little bit. And both fighters just back off right as the bell does ring. So a little bit of back and forth there. I do got to say, It's just surprising to me how fast Ghetto gets into these games. That doesn't take any time to figure out their opponent says, I'm going to play my playstyle and you can play whatever you want.
Yeah, I ain't worried about reading your book. I'm going to dictate the pace in the ring, and you can either catch up or you can get lost. And I mean, that's worked so far for Ghetto IP, other than the one surprising loss that they took during conference play here. And I mean, so far seems to be well adjusted and definitely in their bag. Really seems to be controlling the pace here through the first round, and well, half minute here in round number 2. It just seems to be, I mean, Ghetto IP vibing.
I've been on out here. Of course, very early in the fight, like we said, could be going all 12 rounds and even more if we do end up with a tie on the scorecard. But right now, Hugsdealer in an awkward position, tucked in that corner, having to escape on out to the side. And kind of playing again with that less of the range, has to kind of bait Ghetto on in, look for those counters and make sure they're not super exposed, especially on those headshots. The punches and bunches can just drain you down very quickly, and a nice little slip through the guard there.
Yeah, Hugs definitely has to be careful. They've got to be truly disciplined here, because anytime that you do try and open up, especially for that first shot, you've got to be already well within range where you do have Ghetto IP can really be able to punish you, especially with the difference in that reach there. So you got to make sure that you're able to. I feel it's kind of surprised we haven't seen much sidestepping. It really just feels like Hugsdealer just continues to walk them on down and hopes to kind of find an opening somewhere somehow.
Very true. Kind of just walking straight at each other, but at the same time, Hugs, the one using the dodges really well to kind of escape out of those bad situations, making sure you're not trapped in the corner, but still have enough spacing left for that counter. I like the attack of the body. Again, it's where fighters are going to usually prefer, because obviously you want to block your head. You don't want to get clocked and dropped to the ground immediately, but I gotta say, very, very disciplined again from both fighters.
Yeah, both fighters, I mean, really just kind of plugging and chugging so far. No one truly overextending. I think trying to get a feel for one another, like we do happen to see quite often in these later round or these later tournament fights here. Obviously, this being the championship for our European title, but I mean, I feel like for Hugsdealer, for them, it's going to be all about really kind of the middle rounds. Are you going to be able to withstand keep the scorecard all right, and then really be able to try to take advantage of trying to see if you can get Crawford a little gassed?
That's the question. How much gas do you've got left? And of course, it's important to note for us and our fans at home that we won't be able to see the scorecard after this round, but every 3 rounds in the fight we'll be able to see it. So after 3, after 6, after 9, and then after 12, we'll be able to see the scorecard, but it will be being a scorecard as well if we make it there and if nobody gets knocked out.
Mentioned the first one comes after 3 here. We're in the 3rd round, so in 2 minutes and 45 seconds, we'll get to check in and see how things are looking here through the first quarter of this first potential quarter of this fight, I should say. But as for now, I mean, you can kind of see both doing a really good job of being able to cover up. I feel like at times we have seen, at least on the side of Ghetto IP, he has allowed Hugs to close the gap and being able to punish, but it's only been brief opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, the counter opportunities have been there, but like you said, have been relatively limited, and that's what you really want to see. I do gotta say, gotta be a little bit careful from Ghetto. A lot of damage towards the head flying through from those counters, and Hugsdealer, we've been talking about it. This pick maybe being a pocket pick, being that 6 overall difference, having pretty much worse in all stats and worse in reach, but Ryan Garcia just brings a special flair to the ring.
I always love to see the off picks, try and see if just that little bit of uncomfortability, the unawareness as far as what really works against the opposition might allow for Hugsdealer to get the edge that they're looking for here. You mentioned the damage that they were able to put in a couple of times across the face. I think part of it is what we're seeing is Ghetto IP. You mentioned how they like to dictate the pace, right? They like really to come out swing. It doesn't matter what kind of game plan you have. Hugs has done a pretty good job of being able to catch a couple of overextensions and being able to make them pay.
Absolute confidence, able to make sure those mistakes are punished and make sure to put in the work. Of course, like we mentioned, we'll be able to see the scorecard here after a bit. It's also important to me, Q, that I'm looking at the stamina bars again for these two. If we're going towards the max round, both of them are managing their stamina bars really well in these early rounds to start.
Yeah, both of them are showing themselves the discipline, and part of that is just not wanting to give away too much, not wanting to overextend. There's not much to really be expending that stamina on, but final couple seconds, both fighters going to be able to land a couple of shots. And here it is. We'll be able to see after this replay. Take a quick look in. me get your estimation though, Llama. What way you think this card's gonna be leaning?
I think it's a little bit favored towards Ghetto, but I just don't know how much damage the overall Hug Stealer shots were accounted for in those rounds. So I feel like it's Hug Stealer maybe won one of the rounds and possibly a 1-point lead towards Ghetto. But of course, we'll have to see. And there's lots of rounds. This is the interesting thing, that the players aren't able to see that scorecard as well until we can see it. So making those adaptations will come after this third round.
Of course, taking a little bit more time here at this third round as well. This is a chance for our fighters to be able to make those adjustments, right? Usually they're getting right back into it into the other rounds. Here is where, like, all right, we're a quarter of the way through it. Let's kind of assess the situation. How am I looking? How do I feel like they're possibly looking with the shots that I've landed? And I feel like, especially if you're a Hug Stealer, what do I got to change to really be able to assert myself in these next couple of rounds, especially when you look at a scorecard like that, down by 3. It's not a huge deal. We saw it in that first semifinal matchup where they were able to kind of bring things back, tie things up at round number 6. But that means Hug Stealer is going to have to start putting themselves in the driver's seat.
Absolutely is. And for a player that plays consistent, isn't always going for the knockouts, to be down 3 is, bigger than you would have wanted. But nonetheless, it's not the biggest difference. You still do have 9 rounds to try and battle on back, and you've already got a left swell building up on the other side. So this is actually interesting. We're seeing the switch up, the switch hitter activated, not getting any disadvantages from Terrence Crawford from playing that switched up style.
Yeah, I love to see, as far as this being comfortable going with that too, not worried about the difference in the read here, and almost kind of brings that little bit of a slight potential advantage basically to a standstill, trying to continue to lead with that right hand. The only problem is right now Ghetto IP continuing to be ruthless, continuing to move forward with reckless abandon, not worried about taking a shot here or there, realizing that those punches that they're landing still doing quite a bit of damage in their own right.
It's a lot of damage flying through on both sides, but only 60 seconds left in this round. A little bit more patient, it feels like, from both of these two players. Neither one, recognizing that it is time to not go forward. It's time to relax a little bit. We've got later rounds to try and earn some points. And especially, this is even better for Ghetto, who saw they are just leading, knows that, okay, I can play a little bit more or less. I don't have to be the one to go forward into that lesser reach of the Garcia.
Yeah, especially here where you feel like probably round 4 has also gone into your favor, right? You feel like you've probably added another point to the deficit, which just puts more pressure over onto the side of Hugs. And Hugs hasn't done anything yet to really kind of show any sort of flash opportunities, which means for now, Ghetto IP got to be feeling good. Last seconds of the round going to complete, and I can only but assume it's now a 4-point lead.
Does feel that way. It's going to be a nice and healthy lead for the number 1 seed Ghetto at the moment. At the same time, Hug Stealer is doing some good damage. I gotta say that it's all about that buildup. It's all about continuing to keep up that pressure, and Hug Stealer consistency, the name of their game. Let's see what they could do here, starting off in round number 5. Early, it does feel like, again, just looking for those counters, not really been able to find a moment to go forward with that shorter range, especially with Ghetto controlling that stamina bar. It just feels so tough without being countered.
I think the one thing that's tough for Hugs is giving up so much on the reach for a fighter who really likes to stay behind the jab and use the footwork to create the openings, right? Usually kind of liking to lead with the jab and then find the second move from there. Right now, has to find the move to get into the spot for the jab to then be able to move the footwork once more, you know what I mean? And as far as for Ghetto IP, they've been disciplined. They are not distance to be closed by Hugs at all.
No, and that's the big key for them to win this entire fight, to be able to be crowned champion, is to manage that distance really well. Not getting in the floor here. Some good body damage following on through, and that's what you want to see, those big moments from Hug Stealer to be able to capitalize.
Yeah, Hug Stealer was able to get some work in there, but I mean, you still gotta figure we're getting relatively close to the halfway point. You can't just have good rounds anymore. You got to start having some great rounds. You got to start finding some ways to really get the control and start working towards those knockdowns here as well, because one thing you can expect, hold on, nice little flurry, got met with some body shots, however, across from the way from Ghetto IP, but every time Hug starts to close in the gap, landing some big shots, not able to finish with a big shot, or not able to finish with that second big shot. You know what I mean? Like, they get one, but then it's just like they stand still before the next little combo.
Yeah, I 100% feel you. They're not able to get that knockdown shot, but they are starting to build up the damage. That's the biggest thing. It feels like body and block damage starting to build up on Ghetto's side. And this really does feel like, to me, Q, the first round where Hugs actually took a point victory in.
Yeah, it feels like this is the first one where Hugs has kind of been able to slowly figure things out. And we talked earlier about the meat and potato rounds where we're heading towards that 8, 9, 10, right? And if you can start already turning the corner as far as maintaining the control of the fight, start kind of chipping away at that lead, then those meat and potato rounds is where you can really start to eat good.
Well, we'll see who's going to be in well with the extra cash money with the victory after this one. Of course, we're in towards some of these later rounds, and it's starting to get towards that halfway point. It does feel like for Hugs Dealer, it's going to need to continue to keep on building up that damage. And this round specifically is going to be interesting to see those adaptations. After the third round, we saw Ghetto switch the stance on up. We'll see if that is possibly the choice again. But 2 minutes left to go. Hugs Dealer is still getting some control in.
Feels like this round still slightly leaning in favor of Hugs Dealer. And you figure if last round did as well, pretty well could be potentially cutting that lead in half before we see the scorecard here in round number 6. Neither fighter, though, has really gotten to the opportunity where there's been a scare of potentially being put onto their rear end, which, I mean, you know, good for you as far as not having that sort of scare for you, but you also have to find some way to really get the control. I think especially for Hugs Dealer, being behind in the scorecard the way that they are, a knockdown or two would do you wonders.
It'd be huge. That 2-point swing could put you really, really close to getting yourself back, especially when you've been building up momentum, right? You possibly won that last round. You've been building up some good damage, and you're just looking for your moment to tactically assert your dominance over this opposing player. The other thing, like we've talked about so many times before, this is single elimination grand finals. There's no second chances. You have to use every round to the best of your ability and leave everything out there.
Everything's got to be put onto the table here. You didn't get this far just to get this far, and right now it's Ghetto IP who's continuing to kind of playing it patient. We've seen him taking a couple of beatings at moments, but also doing a good job of being able to punish a few overextensions by Hugs Dealer. Final bell going to ring as far as for round number 6. We're officially halfway there, and as much as it did feel like early in this fight, it was all, I mean, and I do truly mean all Ghetto IP. These last couple rounds, Hugs Dealers looking to try and turn things around.
Looking to try and bring things back to their favor, especially starting in the back half of these fights. We'll say stamina bar starting to get a little bit lower, down to 60% overall for Ghetto IP. We'll see what Hugs Dealer does deal around that as well, but not too much overall damage. I will say head and body relatively healthy on both sides, and that's the thing. It hasn't been really a knockdown. It hasn't been the biggest of flurries. It has been what we predicted to be a very, very tactical match between these two. Now it just comes down to, you got half the fight done. What do you do in the remaining half as well?
Here in 7 seconds, Llama, we'll be able to know at least exactly, well, I shouldn't say at least, we'll be able to know exactly where these two fighters stand when it comes to the scorecard here. I can't see it because the Discord thing, not like this. 56-58, there we go. All right, cool. So that means it's only a 2-point fight. I mean, this thing's still relatively close.
It's very close. And like we've talked about before, you get one knockdown if you're a Hugs Dealer, all of a sudden it could be back to even. So as this one continues to go, it is also important to note, like we said, if it is a tie on the scorecard after round 12, we will go to extra rounds, overtime, whatever you want to call it. I know I've been wishing for it, but just important to note for you guys that we ain't going for no ties here.
Ain't no ties, especially when there is a title shot, or when there's not a title shot, when there's a title on the line, baby. One of these two fighters is going to be crowned our European champion. Both of them definitely shown in their semifinal matchup that they are more than deserving. It's honestly been a pretty good matchup here so far as well. You mentioned the tactile, so more of a fight and more of approach from these two, kind of like we expected in the lightweight division. Round number 7, though, kind of standoffish.
Yeah, it's kind of been a little bit more calm, a little bit more patient, it does feel like, from these two players. And that's kind of felt like the whole fight is. It's not really wanting to go forward and make the mistake. It's really both these players just looking for their openings, looking for the tiny mistakes that their opponents can make or the counters that they can force. And honestly, it feels like it goes in the favor of Ghetto because they have that smaller lead. If Hugstealer isn't getting a massive amount of points, you can know that you're still ahead.
The fact that you've been able to burst 7. Another round, though, with no knockdowns. Just been more about the tags for points, trying to see where they can find the work on the scorecard. And as much as we felt like rounds 5 and 6 were very much in favor of Hugs, I think because of the slowdown there, I think I might have to do that last one to Ghetto IP.
I think so too. Honestly, I think gonna rebuild that 3-point lead back on up. Of course, like we mentioned, we'll get to view the scorecard after round 9 here in a little bit. I think for Hugzero, though, starting to recognize running out of rounds to earn some points. A knockdown would be huge to build yourself back up, but even at this moment, even if you're down 3, you would need to win every remaining round by at least 1 point to win the fight overall. So I think it's going to be time here soon we see some fireworks.
Feels like now is the time to start sparking them up here. If you're Hugstealer, you got to start lighting the fireworks if you want the show to pop off in the 9th, 10th, and 11th round. But you talk about a fireworks show. It's a barrage of shots that come across from Ghetto IP that's going to stop Hugstealer dead in their tracks. It actually has Hugstealer on the retreat just a little bit, putting themselves back out into that more further range, which honestly really more favors Ghetto IP.
Definitely does. Such a big range advantage for the Terrence Crawford, but Hugstealer, I got to give him so much credit, has worked around it really well here in this fight. And again, playing in their opponent's weight class pick and really showing up and showing out. The question will be, how does the fight end? You got 60 seconds left to go here in this round specifically. Hugstealer is looking for an opening, but Ghetto is just not giving it to him.
No, Ghetto has been playing disciplined. With the fact that they put themselves in a lead at this point, they just get to play basic kind of fighter mentality, right? You don't need to any longer be the one who pushes the pace. You don't have to be the one that tries to make the opposition uncomfortable. Now it's in the favor of Hugstealer to try and do that to you, but if you can sit back and keep them at bay, especially with those left straights the way that we have seen plenty of times here from Ghetto IP, it's just so hard to get anything going.
It's going to be tough. We'll have to see. 5 seconds left to go as the pressure's still pounding. We talked about those fireworks exploding right in the face of Hugstealer, the body as well, taking some shots, but look at the counters there right at the end. Hugstealer, that was massive. The replay going to go back to earlier in the round where it was actually Ghetto able to pick up some damage, but Q, that was a good flurry right at the end.
A nice little flurry there at the end. The question is, how does that reflect on the scorecard? We'll still have one more round to play it out to see how things do reflect there. We're going to be heading into this 9th round here in just a moment. And, you know, for these fighters, this is the last round that they'll have before the final notification of the scorecard before the end of the fight. So right now, you've got to find some way to push the pace if you're Hugstealer. You feel like you fought your way back into this, you cannot afford to drop this round.
Cannot afford to drop this round, and can't afford to get dropped yourself is the most important thing. We haven't had the knockdowns yet. No flashes, no nothing. It's been very tactical. There was a close one in that last round right at the end from Hugstealer. I'd love to see if they can capitalize a little bit earlier. There's the body damage. I want to see the buildup. I want to see the continuation. Target more things and be able to punish this moment. But Ghetto playing like they're not even injured.
Yeah, honestly, Ghetto just vibing right now. They're playing like it's the beginning of the fight, and they have not a care in the...
Always pay to be first. It pays to be last.
Just a little uncomfortable when you're playing from a deficit like you are for a Hugstealer, especially when you're playing at a deficit not only on the scorecard, but even just in the attributes across the two fighters. You talked about the 6 overall between the two, 10 centimeters of reach. Right now, Hugstealer doing so much to fight uphill.
Uphill battle. But definitely brought the walking pole, hoping to trek right on into it here in the final 60 seconds. We will get to see the scorecard, and so will the players, to see what those adaptations need to be made. It is going to be a little bit dangerous positioning here from Ghetto as they were forced into the corner with only 30 seconds left to go. This, like we said, not too much of a time to build up a flurry.
Not too much time, and I feel like right now, if you're Hugs, I don't know if you've done enough to win this round. You got to find some way to finish things off on a bang, and I don't think it's going to be a knockout. Just got to be a good combo. Instead, keeping themselves on the opposite side of the ring. Maybe they feel something that I didn't. Let's see what these scorecards are going to look like here at the end of round number 9.
We'll see what the scorecards will be. Of course, they're going to get a little bit more longer time to rest here and think about what is going to be done here in the final 3. Again, stamina bar is pretty well managed here. 43% still living and going for Ghetto IP piloting the Terrence Crawford. The overall damage, not too much. No cuts overall. But I feel like it's going to be kind of the same on the other side, that there hasn't been any of those big flurries. It has really been a chess match that is going to continue with a possible stalemate in these final 3.
Yeah, these final 3 rounds, I think, are really going to be dependent on how, on what the scorecard looks like here. What kind of lead have we seen be able to be built up over on the side of Ghetto IP? Because you figure for you, if you've got yourself a 3-point lead heading into the last 3 rounds, you've got to win 1 round in the last 3, which should be, relatively easy. But instead, it is close. It is real close. It's a 1-point fight heading into the last 3 rounds.
I mean, this is tying possibility here, and I know we were dreaming of it, but it is slowly becoming a reality. Realizing that Ghetto has to be a little bit careful. They've been playing a little bit more on the defensive because they've had that point lead. Hugs Dealer is now going to be out for blood. We're into our first double-digit round, and the staminas are going to start being a problem, and that's also one of the disadvantages. You get the punches and bunches advantage in the first rounds, and then you get the disadvantage a little bit later.
Yeah, the disadvantage here in these later rounds, and that's something that I do believe actually both of our fighters do have to worry about, though. So at least the disadvantage is on either side. Both fighters going to be aware of it. And I mean, as much as we see every time it looks like Ghetto IP might be opening things up, somehow, some way, despite the disadvantage as far as in the reach, Hugs Dealer able to keep him at bay.
Hugs Dealer just does such a good job, and honestly, I'm not surprised. We were saying, why'd you pick the Rikers? It's such a disadvantage. You got the reach disadvantage, but the wild pick is doing wonders here in the ring. But like you mentioned, both the stamina disadvantage going to be there for both players, and honestly, for Hugs Dealer, just hitting the shots here late, this could be the round that equalizes everything.
This could be such a huge round if Hugs Dealer is going to be able to be the one to walk away with it. But you still got to find some way to turn the burners on. 30 seconds left. This is round number 10. Time running thin. You've got him right up against the ropes here for Ghetto IP. He steps up in front, able to land a couple of shots, at least backs him down a little bit, but it's still the control from Hugs Dealer, not able to capitalize.
And honestly, from Hugs Dealer, that positioning in the late part of that round, just trapping in the corner, it's where your range does best, and not letting them escape with that stamina slowdown. So lovely stuff with that replay there at the end, and we will head to the final 2 rounds. And honestly, Q, on my scorecard, I got it even.
Yeah, it feels like this has to be even here going into the last 2 rounds. Rounds 11, rounds 12. And right now, that does mean that the pressure has very strangely shifted over to the number 1 seed here, Llama, over to Ghetto IP. And you wonder, do they start to fold? That's going to be the question.
It's the big question on both the minds, and honestly, this has been a fight with 0 knockdowns. A single knockdown could be the thing that ends out this fight, and honestly, we are trading flurries. This is an exciting round 11. Some good body shots, some good head shots, and slowly Ghetto working their way forward to do some good damage, but Steeler recognizing the damage, not taking too much, and then getting resituated in the corner.
We get resituated, sits back into the middle of the ring, ready to go toe-to-toe here with Ghetto IP. Hugs Dealer looking to try and up the pace a little bit. They just wanted to make sure that they can kind of get a little bit of recuperation and then right back to work. You don't have much time here. Able to land a couple of body shots, but still able to use the range. There is Ghetto IP to at least be able to keep Hugs away for now.
Keeping away, keeping the range going, but the body shots do not stop. Hugs Dealer keeping up the pressure. Did take some damage themselves in the round. Keeping the blockers up towards the face. Do not want to suffer a knockdown right now. But the stamina bars are in shambles. That's the problem. You can't really get the biggest amount of flurries. You don't want to go to that slow-mo and have a nice easy knockdown on your side. So just playing tactical, 20 seconds left to go. This is going to go the distance.
This is going to go the distance. Not seeing a knockout here in the future, especially not in the end of this 11th round where we have not seen a knockdown just quite yet. You talked about it earlier, Llama. When we saw the lightweight pick, this was going to be a more of a tactile fight. It's all going to be about who can outbox the other, who's going to be able to get the points where it matters the most on the scorecard.
Points are going to matter, and every single strike does. You see in the replay the double connection towards the body for Hugs Dealer could have swayed the round. Either way, this is it. We could end in a tie, or if there is a knockdown, it could just be an auto win for one of the two sides. The stamina bars are low. Let's crown a champion.
Let's crown ourselves a champion here in round number 12. And you mentioned a knockdown might be just enough to be able to convince the judges to raise your hand at the end of things. First 30 seconds down, and it feels like this round here, at least so far, in the favor of Ghetto IP. Landed a couple of big shots earlier, but still standing tall right in the ring, waiting for Hugs Dealer to try and bring the heat.
Hugs has got that short range, but the heat is flying and damage is done. Hugs Dealer taking a lot of it themselves, and this is not how they wanted the round to go. 3 strikes already connecting, giving some good damage, but man, those body shots from Hugs Dealer, they're so good at getting the counter. It just feels like Ghetto in control, but what mistakes will be made?
The body shot's a literal punch to the gut to slow you down, and they have been doing wonders here halfway through our 12th round, halfway through our final round before we crown ourselves a champion. And it feels like this one has been in favor over on the side of Ghetto IP. Another nice little combo working both the upper as well as the lower body, not the lower body, but working the body as well as the face, really putting Hugs Dealer onto their back foot, and there's just nowhere for them to go.
Nowhere to go, nowhere to run with the low reach, and it don't matter, flat-footed, it is time to go. 30 seconds left to crown the champion. The head damage to follow here, and on the offense, Hugs Dealer realizes it is now or never. The head damage continues to fly. 1 strike away from the knockdown. Ghetto is standing tall. 1 hit is all it takes. Hugs Dealer trying to finish it out with a big body shot, but the timer is down. 0's on the clock, and the savior as the head damage is not enough.
And it's a draw!
Wow.
Llama, you called it. You talked about potentially seeing this thing go the distance and then getting to have extra time. 12 rounds. Not going to be enough to crown ourselves a European champion.
We're going to extra rounds, baby. Are you kidding me? It was that late flurry, and I gotta say, Q, it was maybe 1 hit away from Hugs getting that flash, from getting the possibility of that knockdown, but what a championship fight already.
What a championship fight. 12 rounds not being enough, and I gotta agree. I think we were 1 or 2 big shots away from seeing Hugs Dealer completing the comeback with a big knockdown in round number 12. Of course, Llama, not only does that mean we get bonus boxing here to start things back with some more, rounds here, but that also means that the fighters are going to be coming in back at that stamina, back rejuiced. So it's almost like starting from scratch. And what have you learned in that last fight that you can apply so quickly?
That's going to be very interesting. Of course, for the people out there that don't know, like we said, we are going towards those extra rounds, 6 to be exact. It's going to be a possible 18-round fight in total, but between these two players, I mean, they deserve their spot in their grand final. They just proved it. Like you said, it's going to be interesting to see that start back up. And for Ghetto, who had led early in that fight, we'll see if they can build up that lead early again.
I wonder if they can, come out and really grab the bull by the horns in the way that they did to start off that fight. Obviously, they were able to control, I think, most of the first 6 rounds. I think, what was it, a 2-point lead that they have when we check in after round number 6. It makes you wonder, though, if that makes Hugs Dealer change the approach a little bit. Maybe you do come out swinging hot and heavy in round number 1. See if you can do what it takes to catch that very weird first round knockdown, which, I mean, would change things so huge for the next 5 rounds.
It absolutely would. I mean, you're talking about you went 12 rounds with 2 amazing fighters that neither one of them did have a knockdown. So those are big points that neither one of them got. At the same time, this is why they're in the grand finals, right? They're very tactical boxers, and neither one of them wanted to make the mistake, especially in the lightweight category. Maybe you go out flying, and maybe those mistakes we'll see in the secondary rounds.
I feel like for Hugs Dealer, I think the adjustments that were made were more than just based off of, oh, well, my opponent doesn't quite have the same stamina. They can't come out and throw the same punches, right? It felt like there were some changes that were made that they might be able to use at the start of this next fight to really put themselves in the driver's seat. I feel like with the way that last fight ended, Hugs Dealer has to be the favorite for me now heading into this overtime.
I think so too. I mean, Ghetto, I will say, if they can control the early rounds like they did in the previous fight, like they did in that semifinals fight as well, maybe it can go more their way. But Uxdealer started to figure out the range, and more importantly, start to figure out the ways to hit those counters. We saw there at the end, that head damage was literally 1 hit away from possibly getting that flash. So if you can exploit that once again, and again on a pick that is 6 difference in overall stat, to be able to do that is just crazy.
Buddy was literally walking around the middle of the ring like, don't do it. Don't do it. Please, not like this. Not like this. Just 3 seconds. Hold on. And was able to stay on their feet just long enough. You figure, man, one of those lands, it could have been a completely different story. This European Championship could already be over.
Could have been, but isn't. So we'll have to see how it continues to go for the remainder of these 6 rounds. And honestly, it's even more exciting, like we said, because there's no more second chances. This could possibly be your belt on the line, decided by 6. And the more important thing, Q, we've also got to think about fight of the night, because even though there weren't any knockdowns in that one, it is going extra rounds.
Yeah, but we also can't make that be like the qualifier,
That's
right?
true.
Of it only, because it already gets us bonus like boxing. I don't know if I could quite get down with that. It is definitely a contender though, because you mentioned that last fight, I think really more of a display of the tactile side of boxing that does have to come out from time to time in Undisputed. You don't just simply come out and mash buttons and it's all about who can press the buttons faster to get the knockout, right? Like, you've got to actually have some boxing sense to you, the way that it should be in a final like this, a title fight. So, we still have 2 more fights left. We still have, 2 more title fights as well. So let's not jump the gun too early, but definitely a candidate for fight of the night for sure.
Definitely is. I mean, I at least me personally, I'm still thinking Mac Band to that Boxer Tricks Hugs Dealer. That was a really, really good one. We've had some really good fights, and honestly excited to say we still have 2 more championship fights on the docket, 2 more belts to try and be defended, 2 more possible fights to go, even more rounds.
Yeah, we got ourselves, I mean, at least the well, I shouldn't say at least. We are guaranteed if they go the distance to go 12, but I mean, that could be a potential of 24, maybe even more rounds. We're guaranteed 6 of overtime here, Llama. Predictions. Think we get ourselves any knockdowns here in this first 6 rounds?
I don't know. I feel like yes, just because it's so weird to have a fight without any knockdowns at all. But at the same time, it just feels like these two, they're very tactical. They know that if they get a knockdown, it's possibly a losing measure, especially in 6 rounds where if you get knocked down, you might not have the time to actually battle back across that scoreboard. So I'd say there's an equal possibility of both. I don't know. It's a cop-out answer.
I love it. I love it. Gotta play even kill, the Llama way. Make sure you don't, don't get sound bited. I get it. I do got to say though, I feel like if I'm Hugs, I'm coming out swinging. Again, I think for me, if I'm Hugs, you got to find some way to make sure that you don't fall behind in the scorecard the way that you did in that first fight. Because you mentioned 6 rounds is not much time to bounce back if you fall back multiple rounds in a row.
It's tough. Yeah, if you fall in that deficit early, it's going to be tough to battle it back as well. But honestly, I think this is just a really, really good way. The only way I feel like to actually crown our champion is to go towards these extra rounds. And honestly, I'm just excited to see not only this match, but also the match in the future. It's nice to see Ghetto. It's nice to see, new faces popping up into the scene. And if you guys at home want to get yourself involved with the Ethlete Championship Series, join on into the Discord. Maybe challenge one of the few that are holding the belt and playing some of that conference play to get even more practice, maybe if you're not up to that level yet as well. We've also got an amazing community in there. We've also got a giveaway going on. If you head over towards our website at athletecs.com, you can join the Discord and be entered to win for free for an Amazon gift card.
Amazon gift card for free just by simply joining a Discord. Hey, yo, sign me up, my guy. Especially if it's your first time through over here. And if you haven't already done so, if you're enjoying the content, make sure you're also hitting that follow button down there, turning those notifications on. Something tells me that we're going to be seeing these a little bit more often now that we've got ourselves multiple champions crowned. We had 2 going into today. We're getting ready to crown a third. That third is getting ready to get crowned right now, Llama. 12 rounds. It wasn't enough. So it's time to run it back, and we set things up for 6 rounds here between our top 2 seeds here when it came to the European champion. We got Ghetto IP versus Hugs Dealer. Let's get down to it.
It is time. We're going right on into it with the finals rematch, and already a flurry of headshots, and that's what we wanted to see. And we've got the first flash. It's dazed. It's down. Hugs Dealer on a knee.
Wow, it did not take long at all here for Ghetto IP. He said, all right, wait, no. I was about to say, I know we're not letting the first knockdown go to 10. An 8 count, though, does allow for Hugs Dealer to get back up. But Llama, that first knockdown came in the opening minute. Ghetto IP now has the green light to absolutely be pedal to the metal.
Absolutely has it. I mean, they can go forward, the gas pedal into the ground as well for Hugs Dealer. Gotta realize, probably down 2 points right now on the overall scorecard. Is going to need to work things back and probably needs to get a knockdown of their own. Again, it's a duplicate of the fighters as well, so it's that range disadvantage, it's that overall stat disadvantage. You're just a little bit less tanky, but at the same time, going with that different switch up of style here, actually going with the Hugs Dealer going, looks like with a southpaw.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. I mean, we know that when they changed up earlier, it seemed to almost more favor into that Hugs Dealer side. I mean, we saw them kind of being able to pull the comeback there. Maybe that's part of the thought process, but I also wonder if maybe part of it is a little bit of safety after that early knockdown, try and change up the approach. Don't want to take a second knockdown. Not only was it be huge on the scorecard, but I mean, it already took an 8 count to get up the first time. You might not even know if you're getting up another one. We see a couple big punches come across here from Hugs Dealer, but I mean, right now, for Ghetto IP, it's like a stone wall.
Absolutely is. The wall is held on up in this first round, pretty much going to come to its end with a definite winner to fly out of the gate. You talk about that first minute knockdown from Ghetto IP to start out this fight is exactly how you want things to go. At the exact same time, headed here, we get to see it again in that replay. Just 20 seconds in, coming out flying, hitting back-to-back headshots.
20 seconds after everything was reset, and remember, that's from Ghetto IP, who was literally like 2 seconds from getting knocked down at the end of that 12th round, realizing that they've got to come out and really assert themselves, kind of in that style that we were talking about early on in the first rendition of this grand final. Ghetto IP, generally a fighter that just comes out guns blazing and makes you adjust to them. You can see similar sort of fashion here, really closing the gap on Hugs Dealer, not worried about being in that kill zone, and instead continuing to send a barrage of shots.
Continuing to pepper on in, and that's, I feel like, the most important thing, keeping up that consistency, especially in these 6 rounds. If you are, On the side of Hugs Dealer, yeah, sure, you lost that first round, but you've got these extra rounds. You had the knockdown in the first. You've got 5 more to try and respond, but it's just so tough when Ghetto's landed all these headshots.
Yeah, Ghetto's been landing big time headshots here, and this is a second straight round where they've been putting up big points onto the scoreboard. If you're a Hugs Dealer, you got to start moving with a sense of urgency in the back half of the second round. We talked about it. There's only 6 rounds of overtime. You do not have time to fall down behind in the scorecard big.
Don't have that time. Don't really want it, but it's the situation you are dealt. And like we said, there's no more second chances, technically excluding this overtime, unless we do get somehow another draw at the end of this one. We'll have to see. 45 left to go for Hugs Dealer to try and bounce things on back. And honestly, taking good space here in the middle of the ring. But again, Ghetto just doing a good job to hit the pot shots.
Yeah, slowly walking them down and hit them with the quick ones and the 1-2s. And there it is, starting off with a nice left punch. Imagine if it was a foot. A left punch to the face there, then also following up with a body shot. But in response, Hug Dealer has been able to land some big shots to their side as well. The only thing is, I don't know if Hugs Dealer's done enough in round number 2 to sway the judges in his favor here. That might take what was a 2-point deficit after round number 1. He could potentially already be 3 points behind.
It's true. And we'll know about it until that third round, the only round where we will get to see that scorecard just like the players. But Hugs Dealer probably does realize with that knockdown, they're going to have to play a little bit more aggressive. Again, doesn't want to bite right into the range on the other side of Crawford, but still wants to be able to find something. Nice little counter there towards the body to start up the damage. But that's not it just yet. A nice headshot traded back. These hooks, I got to say, from Ghetto are landed.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Ghetto just seems to be in their bag, man. Whether it's leading with straights, you're able to land some big hooks as well. I mean, it's almost like a different sort of vibe from Ghetto, I feel like, from that first fight. Even in the first part of that first fight where Ghetto was in the driver's seat, just seems to be playing a little bit more free and loose here, which has allowed them to play a little bit more aggressive, which I feel like at least early on in this fight made Hugs uncomfortable, especially with the quick knockdown.
Yep. Definitely did. Uncomfortability setting on in, and that has been the MO, it feels like, of Ghetto for this entirety, not only of today, but through conference play as well. Winning early and being able to just frustrate their opponents. Hugs Dealer, though, still on the offense, wants to put in the work and doing some good damage to the body. Again, it is not over until that round 6 bell rings.
Yeah, Hugs Dealer doing a good job of taking what is being given to them as well by Ghetto IP, not trying to overforce things as far as headshots. He's like, you know what? If you're going to allow me to get some body shots in, I'll work those in and just look for the openings up on the head. And as much as we have seen Hugs Dealer be able to get some sort of punishes, Ghetto IP, their discipline has been key. They are not allowing anything for free for Hugs Dealer.
And it's just draining time, right? It's just playing more defensive, just letting the clock tick down, knowing they are ahead. Now, that did kind of bite them, I will say, at the end of their regular round matches, where it kind of let some points slip because they were playing a little bit more defensive. But this is the early rounds. Hug Dealer is going to have to make up some points for sure. Damage flying. The stamina bars fully extended there at the end of it. So although Hugs Dealer had that early knockdown, they don't have any cuts or anything. I think the biggest thing is they are down in points, so they're going to need a couple of flurries like this one here.
They're going to have to continue to chip away at the scorecard. We'll be able to know officially what that thing's looking like here in a few seconds. If you figure it has to be at least a few points of a lead right now for Ghetto IP, I think the question becomes really, how do you score round number 3? And maybe even a little bit of how you score round number 2. Maybe it's closer than I'm giving them credit for. And if Hugs Dealer is actually within 1 point here, that could be kind of big, because I feel like Ghetto IP expecting a bigger lead.
I think so too. I mean, it's got to be 3 or 4, you think, at this point, unless Hugs Dealer was able to take one of those rounds. We'll get to see. They'll get to see those adaptations. I gotta say, though, Hugs Dealer, after every single card round, has really looked better, has had the answers, and we're going to see it. It's only a 2-point lead, so a great, actually, start from Hugs Dealer. They're going to need to be able to battle things back and continue that momentum from that third round. but this could be dangerous. It is not enough of a lead there for Ghetto that you can just rest on your laurels.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the end of that last fight, don't it, Llama? Where as much as early on it was Ghetto IP controlling things on the scorecard, Hugzdealer slowly scratching and clawing. And yeah, that third round, a big one. That could be the catalyst to allow them to know that they are still right here. A bunch of lefts to the body, though, from the side of Ghetto IP. Finding another one as well, continuing to work away, being relentless.
That's the punches and bunches. That's that extra damage, and realizing they need to go a little bit forward, can't play as defensive, learning, like you mentioned, from the end of that regulation rounds. But it has been a battle here in round 4. We've got some haymakers flying and chances going, but I do gotta say, this is exactly what Hugzdealer wants, trying to find those openings. Look at this range. It's perfect right now for Hugzdealer to be able to find those counters. Ghetto is walking right into it.
Yeah, Ghetto's walking right on into it, which is just allowing Hugzdealer to continue to kind of get those nice little tacks away with the right hand. Couple shots to the body there as well before backing on out to safety. Doing a good job with the sticking and the moving is the big thing. Also able to land a nice shot to the face there as well. And remember, this is where Hugzdealer was most dangerous there towards the end of that last fight. These last 3 rounds could be big.
It's going to be huge. This is 30 seconds left to go. What do you got in the tank? How many flurries do you have left? And Hugzdealer trying to take control of the middle, trying to maybe get a flurry here late, trying to earn some points to build themselves back on up on that scorecard. But man, just a headshot, a counter, not letting him in. Crawford, the piloting by Ghetto is perfect to end out the round and possibly extending their lead.
Another round down. That's one more. We have 2 left to go here, Llama, and these rounds getting closer and closer. Obviously, the first round pretty easy to call with the knockdown. Question becomes, how do you score that fourth? Because if you scored that one in favor of Hugzdealer, and if Hugzdealer thought he had the advantage, you might think that it's just a 1-point fight with 2 rounds left. You've got to find some way to still be able to get those points up onto the board, but don't want to risk giving too many over to the side of Ghetto IP.
Yeah, realistically, you have to win both these rounds. You got to be able to take them both. And Hugzdealer very, very clinical in the final rounds. We've seen it fight over fight. We've seen it event over event. One of the most consistent boxers in the entirety of the ECS. But consistency matters right now. But right now, it's all about the damage. A great counter headshot there coming on through. But Ghetto managing damage well.
Doing a good job of managing the damage. Ghetto doing a good job of, doing what's needed just to maintain this lead that they have. Leading with that left quite often, a nice little quick left, and when it's landed, sometimes hits them with the second, sometimes follows up with the right, trying to do enough that they can to keep them off kind of their guard. They tried to see, you saw Hugzdealer try to lead in with a powerful left, unable to land.
Unable to connect it. Could have been a huge hit there, and you talk about huge hits. Hugzdealer being just maybe 1 or 2 hits away in regulation from winning the entire thing with a daze. But this time, did get knocked down to start out this set of round 6s and might be looking bad on the overall points, but is doing good in these late rounds to build up some points. The back and forth, the counters are there. At the same time, Ghetto knows they don't have to be the one to push the issue.
No, Ghetto's the one who kind of gets to be in the driver's seat. You just don't want to allow Hugzdealer too much free range in the middle of the ring. You don't want them to feel comfortable and then in turn be able to turn up the heat from there. And I mean, doing just enough to do just that, not having to do too much as far as putting extra pressure from there. Also doing a good job with the side steps to be able to slow things around. And I mean, big shots towards the face. The right side of the face right now from Hugzdealer has taken a beating.
It's taken a beating for sure, but a couple of late hits there again. Hugzdealer just finding ways to maybe even pull out the rounds, but this is it. Round 6 of 6 between the two. We haven't gotten to see the scorecard since round number 3 where Ghetto was leading by 2. The question is, Hugzdealer, what do you got left? Are you made for the championship this time?
We have ourselves one of our championship fights, which is guaranteed to have somebody new hoisting the belt. That's this one, the European Championship. And we could potentially be 2 minutes and 15 seconds away from seeing just that. It feels like, at least for now, that it is Ghetto IP that is pretty well, it's their fight to lose. You have to be worried, though, that if you happen to see Hugs Dealer come in and get themselves a flash down, I mean, what could that potentially look like? You see, though, that's not slowing them down on the side of Terrence Crawford from trying to move in and trying to light it up.
Trying to get some sort of entry here. 90 seconds left to go. The block is going to take some damage from Ghetto. Recovering from the damage they took a little bit earlier in the round, though. Not the worst. Body damage still to fly. Hugsteel looking for an opening here and playing the middle of the ring really well, but getting pushed back towards the ropes. Q, it's only 60 seconds left.
60 seconds here left, and I'm not sure if I've seen enough out of Hugs Dealer through these last couple of rounds to think that they've done enough to close the gap. It feels like this is where you've got to turn on the burners. This is where you've got to throw everything but the kitchen sink, and you might even need to throw that thing. Here at Ghetto IP, the only problem is you got to do it while trying to find some way to protect your face. That right side here from Hugs Dealer is feeling it.
It's feeling it, but it doesn't matter anymore. You got to go. 10 seconds left to go here. The championship fight. The 5 seconds left. And Ghetto IP with an early start. The knockdown, the extra damage, and the body shots. It was 1 and away again. The winner, though, is Ghetto IP piloting the Terrence Crawford, barely surviving, inches away from a knockdown at both of the ends of the fight.
It's got to be the knockdown that was the difference, right? Let us see the scorecard, because it feels like that thing had to...
Wow.
So the scorecard showing actually the difference of what I thought. I thought a couple of those rounds there towards the end, maybe even 5 or 4. At least one of them was in favor, but I guess not. As you mentioned, a second fight that in the end of which, on the verge of getting put onto the ground, and instead Ghetto IP staying up and able to call themselves the European champion.
The champ, and absolutely deserves the title for sure. I mean, they played 18 amazing rounds, and like we said, could have been Hugs Dealer able to capitalize at the end of 12, but it was that early knockdown. But not only that, it was the momentum that was built on up, and I just feel like Terrence Crawford's stronger in those earlier rounds. That range advantage is so tough for Hugs Dealer to deal with.
Yeah, and we keep pointing out the early knockdown because it was so big. Once you've had an early knockdown like that, especially in a 6-round fight, you have to be so worried about overextending and finding yourself on the map once again. Hugs Dealer was able to prevent that, but they weren't able to do enough to, one, be able to put Ghetto IP down on the floor, nor were they able to do enough on the scorecard to turn it in their favor.
Not enough to turn it in towards their favor. I will say, though, still just a fantastic fight. Still putting it in at the end of the round, saying, I might be down on the scorecard, but that doesn't mean I am out just yet. So love to see this replay, and honestly, a really kind of tactical end, I gotta say, for Ghetto IP to be able to win up those 6 rounds, win actually 5 of those 6 rounds and get that early knockdown, and well deserving of the belt. Congratulations, but Q, as we always say, you got the belt, now it's your time to defend it.
Yeah, winning the belt is only the start of things. Now you've got that target on your back that everyone is going to be gunning for. And speaking about that target on the back after being the champion, into our next match, we do get to go. It's our U.S. Championship. It's Gangstology, who did win our last show, Evolution, going to be putting that title on the line versus Kashyyyk. Should be a banger.
It's going to be a good one. And I know we've talked about Gangstology and iPro at length. I mean, again, 2 of the best to do it. They hold the belts up for the reason. But you talk about Gangstology and just the story. Again, one of the fighters that we've now seen for all 3 events actually had their chance up in that first one, was the runner-up, brought the chip on their shoulder in towards the second one, and took down pretty much all of EU to be able to win the finals. And then, you know, to be able to come in today and try and defend it, it's such a story.
It's going to be a really fun story. I can't wait to tell that one here, Llama. We've crowned 1 champion. We have 2 more to go, but a big shout out one more time to our ECS European champion, Ghetto IP. You've worked hard to get there. Enjoy the title. Now, like we've said, it is all about defending it. I'm going to be excited to see who the first person is that does try and step up to the challenge for that. But we talked about it before. One title has been given out. Our new European champion, Ghetto IP. Now it's going to be up to Gangstology to try and defend his title against Cash. And then after that, we will be rounding out the show with iPro versus Bromar. So we've got 2 more fights, 2 championship fights. They are 12-round fights. We'll be bringing that first one to y'all right after a break.
And we are back, still here at the Ethlete Championship Series for our third event, the Ascension. Still Llama and Q up here on the desk. We're going to be here all night long, and we've already crowned one champion through a battle of 4 players, and now we get to crown a defending champion.
Well, we don't know if we're going to be crowning the defending champion. No, let's not get ahead of ourselves just quite yet there, Llama. However, this is where this show, the Ascension, is going to be different than the first 2 that we've had. In the first 2 we've had, it's all about crowning one champion. It's been a top 8 that dwindles down to 1. This time we started up for the 4, dwindled down to 1. Now it's Gangsology, who did win the U.S. Championship last go-round, going to be defending the title versus Cash. And this time around, something to think about for Cash is they fought in the U.S. Conference only tournament, and they were the second point scorer that earned the shot against Gangsology. So wins the majority of their fights by KO in a similar fashion that we do also see Gangsology does tend to like to do. Don't be surprised if these 2 fighters come out swinging.
I'd be excited. I'd love to see some knockdowns here, and obviously Cash silence in the crowd. I love the pose, but Gangsology is just one of those consistent fighters that, like we said, we've talked about him so much. He's played in all the events. He had the runner up against iPro. He had the win in the second event, and really has looked clean in a lot of the games. Doesn't make a ton of mistakes, so we'll have to see as we are going to get this one ready to go. It looks like one of the players did crash, so we're going to get that up and ready, but this is going to be a really exciting fight.
Yeah, it's gonna be really fun. I think really worth mentioning for Gangsology. I mean, we've had a couple of fighters that we have seen over a couple of events. Maybe if you guys feel like you want to get involved, jump in the Discord, man. Today we are going to be doing a Amazon card giveaway for people joining through the Discord today. Winner's going to be selected randomly, but also while we have this extra second, maybe check out the website as well, EthleteCS.com as well. Check it out, get involved. That way we can try and continue to grow this thing up. I know I've been having a lot of fun. This is our 3rd event, hopefully the 3rd of many more to come.
I'm hoping so, man. It's been a ton of fun here. Also I know we'll shout them out at the end, but the whole production crew behind the scenes, Ganta and everybody, Cash, making sure that everything is managed and going smoothly all here and there. But also, while you guys are thinking about checking out the website, make sure just keep some thought space in your mind about the fight of the night. We've only got 2 more fights left to decide from, plus our other 3 that we've had in the day. Although we get to make the final decision, we would love to hear your guys' thoughts as well.
Yeah, I mean, if I see a bunch of y'all saying it's a fight that's different than the one that I was picking, I just might pick that fight. I mean, I feel like we gotta give the crowd a little bit of what they want as well, right? As long as it's not too much of everyone picking their favorite fighter versus the favorite fight. We've had 3 good, really banger fights so far, 2 of which have gone the distance, 1 of which gone the distance in overtime after going the distance as well. I know a lot of people are probably going to think we're going to favor the one that went 18 rounds just because of the fact that it did go 18 rounds. But I think also it put on a pretty good clinic. It's, for me, though, still between that one and that first fight of the night.
100%. Yeah, I really do like. It's hard to pick because, it is the overtime fight, but we also didn't have too many of those knockdowns. But like we said, we've got this fight coming up. There's no more secondary chance for this one. This is a straight up, can you defend your belt? And for Gangsology, they've been consistent. They've been getting the job done. And Q, we're headed to welterweight for this matchup.
Heading down to the welterweight, another one of those where, since we are a little bit lower in the weights, usually more about the really about which of these 2 fighters has a better grip of the overall kind of flow of the match. It's not just about coming out and swinging for the fences. And at the welterweight, also worth noticing that when you're down there, these 2 fighters a little bit lower on the overall status, I would say, for only having 1 fighter banned per. So gonna be intrigued to see how this matchup plays out. What's your thoughts on the Amir Khan versus Taylor Square?
I mean, it's a classic matchup with some of the top ones being banned away. It's actually a matchup we've seen earlier today. Now, of course, there's not actually too many big advantages to either one. The biggest one I do got to say is Khan can put out the damage, but does have that human highlight reel that is always a chance of danger. So Gangstology, I feel like, has played Taylor a lot, knows the way around the fighter. We'll see how they play it here in this fight.
Of course, Taylor also going to be surrendering a couple of centimeters over on the reach. Not too much. Definitely not a disadvantage like we did see in that last championship fight. Both fighters squared away at that 85 overall. So kind of where one favors a little bit different. So you might see a little bit of an increase on the other side. So should be interesting to see how this thing plays out. First round, though, thus far, kind of more of that feel out round. Neither one really closing the gap and trying to send a barrage of shots. Instead, just more of like the 1-2, the stick and move, and keeping the other at bay.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what this round one should be, though. No one wants to go too super far forward. We've seen in the past what an early knockdown could do. And as that guard does drop, Gangstology does hit a nice shot towards the head. 20 seconds left to go here, and neither one wanting to move too far forward. I like Gangstology does this really nice thing where it drops the guard, heals up both the stamina and the damage, but also it kind of baits Khan in, and then he's ready for those blocks to get back up.
Yeah, Khan just thinks, oh, is he being lazy? Let me try and send a shot or two. Gangstology ready for it. There's going to be the bell, though, to round up round number one. What's your thoughts? Who you feel like has the advantage on the scorecard the first round?
I feel like Cash had a couple of big hits, but honestly, it's kind of a toss-up for me. There is that cut appearing on the side of the face, so might have to rethink my decision, and Gangstology might be taking that first one. Either way, the cut is dangerous really early to have. That damage on the head can build up and get out of control very quickly.
Yeah, a cut in round number one right above the eye like that could be kind of scary for Cash to have to work with here. You had mentioned, especially for Khan, who has that human highlight reel, sometimes working against them to already be showing blood might be a cause for concern.
Might be a little bit of concern. At the same time, like we said, both fighters earning their right to get towards this one. Gangstology, of course, is the title holder, but Cash just with that consistency in conference play. At the same time, it's going to be a little bit of left swell as that headshot does connect. And I do like to see that Cash piloting Khan really well, starting to recognize I need to hit some of those headshots to get back into this.
Gotta find something, gotta find an opening, gotta try and find some way to work in my favor here. A minute gone by in round number two, and as much as it does still feel like Gangstology doing a good job with the presence into the ring, like Cashix has done a good job of keeping their range, making sure they don't take too much damage. A couple nice lefts here, and then able to create that gap, which leaves Gangstology swinging at nothing.
Swinging and missing, not connecting. Gonna slow things down, stay in the middle for a little bit of time at the exact same. It is going to be really interesting to see kind of how the scorecard does shake out. Of course, we won't get to see it until after that next round does fall on through. Again, every 3 rounds, we get to see it, and they get to see it as well.
I'm going to be getting ready to see it here another round or so. I feel like right now, Gangstology got to be feeling pretty comfortable about where they're sitting onto that scorecard. Cash has to find some way to start slowly kind of up in the tempo here. And you talked about the ability to drop that guard, be able to get that kind of quick refresh as well as far as across the board. And I mean, it's something that Gangstology really does well.
Does it really, really well. And like we said, just knows Taylor in and out, knows how to put the pressure points down. We'll say Cash surviving towards the end of this round. And honestly, respect from both these fighters. They're not going for anything super late, just backing up, resetting for that next round. We'll get to see that replay of the late flurry flying on in. But we will say after this next round, Q will be able to see the scorecard. That head is still bleeding.
Yeah, that gash above the left eye has not been able to get closed, and it's not really, I mean, I guess the good news, it doesn't really look like it's been opened up much more, at least not yet. However, if I'm Gangstology, definitely know I am leading with some right hands, which it seems like at times we have seen them trying to do, to try and see if they can, get the connection onto that left side of the face here. 2 rounds in, I feel like Gangstology very much has put themselves into the driver's seat. It's still far from over, obviously. 10 rounds here still left to go if you're Cash. But if you're Cash, You got to start finding some way to put some big damage down, and you've got to find a way to put Josh Taylor down to the mat.
You definitely do. I mean, I feel like a knockdown has got to come here in the next couple of rounds. And not only that, you also talk about, the punches and bunches. It's a nice little boost of damage, but also you have that deficit in the later rounds, especially something going 12 rounds. That extra loss of stamina is not going to feel good. So make the best use of the rounds you can right now and try and do some damage to get yourself up on the scorecard.
Something to get yourself up on the scorecard, and it's got to be quick, fast, and in a hurry. And we'll at least get our first look at the scorecard here in about 3 minutes or so after the little break in between the rounds here. And as for now, the two fighters squaring off right in the middle of the ring, neither of them conceding an inch, both waiting to see if they might happen to catch the other overextending just a little bit. But it's been the discipline for me from Gangstology. It's something that we've seen from a lot of our fighters that have shown out to multiple events, that have gone through multiple series of the conference play, understanding that in the long game, each of these early rounds means more than you think in the moment.
It absolutely does. Yeah, every single point. I mean, we literally saw it in the previous one that it was a exact tie. So just one singular point does really end up mattering. Nice little fancy footwork dipping around the ring from Cash, using a little bit of that stamina from Gangstology to just find that opening. But it really does feel like a championship. Again, just a chess match.
Battle for the ages here for the U.S. title. Gangstology, first defense of the title here tonight at Ascension. Will it be a successful one? I mean, at least early on, signs do indicate that we're off to a good start. Of course, still plenty of time to be had here for Cash to try and pull things on back. I mean, I feel like when you look over on the side of Cash here, I mean, knowing that there is somebody who was able to consistently put up points, I'm sure there was once or twice, maybe even 3 times through conference play where maybe they weren't right off into the lead. Can they use that experience to pull themselves back here? That's the question.
That's always the question we've got to ask. And of course, as the third round bell does a ding, they'll get this full minute of recovery to kind of think where they want to go from here. And honestly, we'll get to see that scorecard. It looks like possibly that cut cleaning up just a little bit, but I gotta say, Gangstology investing a lot of the stamina bar. We've seen other players at 83, 85 even at this 3-round marker, already down to 78% of the stamina bar. That's good. And, Khan will suffer a little bit later. We'll have to see if that does affect things.
Yeah, I mean, still in a decent spot, but definitely a little lower than we have seen here in the past. I feel like maybe a little bit of the damage that has been done, though, has kind of been in return for that. But 3 straight rounds in favor of Gangstology. Or sorry, in favor of, wait, did I read that right? In favor of Cash?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Looks like so. I mean, again, Khan just puts out so much burst damage that in these early rounds is very, very strong. At the same time, you do got to think, is that enough damage? I do got to say, block fully broken, body, head down to half, but not enough for Cash to go forward and find a knockdown. Got to say, Gangstology, realizing they're down a little bit, will have to work their way back in this fight.
I mean, at least the good news is with working your way back, you do have a target there. The left side of the face where you had the cut earlier on in the fight. Problem is, your body is becoming more and more susceptible here. A nice little right shot to the body comes across here for Gangstology. Puts him at least down to the flat foot for just a moment. Now trying to walk on forward, continuing to up the pace. But right now, Cash doing a good job of keeping space.
Keeping the space, keeping him away, and trying to keep up that point lead has got to be on the to-do list right now. Stuck in the corner, though, for Cash right now, is backing their way on off. Doesn't want to fully go forward. Again, Gangstology still looking to just preserve something in these early rounds. Wait for that deficit of punches and punches to occur after that round number 8. But right now, using just a lot of the stamina on these dodges, not getting too much value off the damage.
Yeah, you get the dodges to avoid the damage on your side, but you aren't able to use the dodges to create the openings and then be able to punish the player that just threw a shot that got basically nothing but air. That's where right now Gangstology could probably be able to up the ante just a little bit to be able to close the gap onto the scorecard. You saw opens up the stance here. Now going to try and see if they can find some work in the middle of the ring. Last final 7 seconds of round number 4. And I think these two fighters just going to stay at bay from one another. No punches thrown, and feels like maybe even another round over for the side of Cash.
Possibly. I mean, Gangsta put some good shots in, but that flurry that took his not only his block out, his body, his head. I mean, everything was hurt. And I'm honestly surprised Cash didn't recognize that and just go all in for that knockdown. Either way, good damage. 3 minutes on the clock once again as we head into round number 5. We're almost halfway into it. And once again, it feels like a little bit slower pace, but Cash is definitely winning the earlier rounds, which you expect from Khan, but I feel like it's transitioning into momentum for them.
Yeah, definitely seems to be a little bit of momentum picked up for them, despite the fact that early on with the cut, you might have thought that maybe this fight was going the other way. You were talking earlier, though, about the amount of stamina that was being used up by Gangstology. We just saw a big flurry, which kind of put them behind in that department. They haven't quite fully been able to kick back up and get back to a full bar. We do see it there finally coming across, but can't help but wonder, maybe are they starting to feel that pressure, feeling the need to have to turn things up a notch?
Up a notch, maybe up a dial, put that gas pedal forward, whatever you need to find. Working their way around the ring for Gangstology is still controlling the middle of it. And Khan kind of pushed back into this corner more towards the ropes, but just baiting Gangstology in, not really feeling the need to go forward. Maybe even almost connecting there. This is a lot slower of a round again between the two. Neither one wants to make that mistake, but at the end of the day, it just feels like Cash is draining away the damage, pulling away the points.
Yeah, I think Cash knows where he's at on the scorecard right now, and he's just forcing Gangstology to have to up the tempo.
Yeah.
Which is kind of tough to do when you are behind in the scorecard. And we did mention earlier that Josh Taylor does surrender 3 centimeters of reach to Amir Khan as well. So for Cash, you just kind of get to wait for Gangstology to get just into range. And then boom, you hold him off with a nice left straight to the face. Maybe even follow it up with the right.
Oh.
However, there's a flash. There's a daze. Does Gangstology have what it takes to put him onto the mat? And Cash goes down.
It's a huge point swing, and it's a big hit. The first knockdown of this matchup between the two. Cash will get up easily, but Gangstology, we talked about the consistency. I don't know if that was continual headshot. We'll have to see here in the replay, or if it was the danger of Khan. It looked like it was a possible head double, or maybe it was the human highlight reel popping. Either way, Cash going down is going to hurt on the scorecard.
Yeah, left hook across the face caused the daze, and then just continuing to punch away from there. And that's a big round from Gangstology, especially if you feel like maybe, just maybe that 4th round went in your favor. You figure the knockdown more so going to cut into that deficit. We still have one more round to go, though, until we're going to see the scorecard. 3 more minutes back up onto the clock. Gangstology seems to be feeling a little bit better, feeling the groove, feeling the swag. Can they get themselves another knockdown here before we see the scorecard? That's the question.
Ooh. Yeah, hope to see another knockdown. Hope to keep on gaining those points, however. Did take a big, looked like front left there to start out the round, and taking the damage, backing on up. We'll say for Gangstology again, this is where they start to find their groove. And Cash 1K, it's all about building up a lead that's going to be good enough to hold you through the final 4 rounds. At the same time, putting in the effort, possibly realizing they need to put the gas pedal in and trapping Gangstology in the corner.
Final 6 rounds. Remember, this is a championship match here, Llama. We're going the distance here, baby. We're going all 12. Who knows?
18,
maybe even getting that overtime and getting ourselves another 18-round fight. Who knows? I mean, especially with the way the Gangstology fighting their way back into this thing here in rounds, especially 5, maybe even potentially 4. We could for sure be into it, or in for it, I should say. But you mentioned Cash right now. The job in round number 6 is try and take this round, slow down the momentum that Gangstology seems to be building up.
It's nice momentum. We'll have to see how it continues to go, though. With 60 seconds left here in this round, Gangstology just kind of working their way around, figuring to look for the open. And we're just dancing right now, having a little bit of a contest out there. Cash, though, realizing that at the same time that, they might have a little bit of a lead, is going to recognize the dangers of later. That early cut, it was surprising to me that they were actually ahead on that scorecard. And we'll see if Gangstology can find a way to maybe punish that again.
Yeah, see if Gangstology can get themselves one more here, especially in the closing seconds. You got to see if you can push it just a little bit. Kind of like salt and pepper, baby. You got to push it real good. See if you get one more knockdown before the bell comes across. Not just stand there with the gloves up. There it is, one more body punch, and instead waiting out the clock. That's going to be the end of round number 6. Our two fighters will walk back to their corners, take a little bit of extra time here, I would imagine, with this being one of those midpoint rounds, one of the card rounds, and we'll be able to see exactly where they sit halfway through our U.S. Championship fight.
Oh, I'm excited to see the scorecard because it has been a real good back and forth. I would like to note, though, right at the end of that round, it looked like Gangstology had switched to Southpaw. It'll be interesting to see if they continue that through the following rounds as we get to see the scorecard still down 3. So making up a little bit of space, but not the most that they would have wanted. It looks like Gangstology is going to switch back.
Basically, it didn't allow the lead to extend any further than what was the 3 rounds after round 3. So that's at least the good news for you. Means you've at least started to get yourself a little bit going in your favor. But now, if you are Gangstology, you've got to start putting together multiple rounds back to back. That way, when we get in the meat and potato rounds, it's time for some good eatings for cash. It's just all about the discipline. You continue to try and make Gangstology as frustrated as possible by allowing 0 openings.
Openings got to be limited. Again, this is a championship fight. You got to limit your mistakes. And honestly, that's what it's all about. You often talk about playing perfect. It's not about that. Every single player makes even 100 mistakes in a game. It's just about limiting those, making sure you don't make 1,000 mistakes inside of that game. At the moment, though, this is round number 7. We're in the back half and slowly approaching the fall off of Amir Khan's strengths with that punch and bunches disadvantage.
Gangstology trying to walk them down a little bit, see if they can get cash to run out of room here with about a minute left in round number 7. Try and see if they can continue to cut into this lead. Hasn't really been able to land much of anything, though. I mean, continuing to move his cash, making it as hard as possible to get much of anything cooking.
Not really cooking up with the oil that they would have wanted right now. The stamina bar is starting to get lower and lower as time keeps dredging on. Cash, though, with only 20 seconds left to go, playing a little bit more defensive, looking for those counter hooks towards the body that we know can do so much damage, but Gangstology can't really find their opening just yet, and with 5 left to go, could be just another stalemate round. Cash doesn't want to give it up, goes for it for a little bit more, but doesn't get too much.
It's a round that's kind of hard to call, if you ask me, Llama, and for it being a 3-round difference at the midway point, that's not very good news for Gangstology, because if you happen to think that maybe that one went in your favor and then all of a sudden it didn't, that's a 2-point difference. It's a difference between a 2-round deficit, a 2-point deficit and a 4-point deficit, which heading into round number 7, that's quite significant here for Gangstology. I mean, the good news is you're still not seeing much cut, or not seeing any cuts, not seeing any swelling. You're looking solid. But I mean, right now, it's not looking good for Gangstology. They've got to find some way to really pick up the pace and start getting some points on the board.
Got to find some points. Got to find it quick. And we'll say after this next round, that's like we said, when Amir Khan will start to fall off a little bit, will they have built up enough in the point category to be able to survive? We'll have to see. For Cash, it does feel like right now playing the corner really well, which is hard to say when you're a fighter, when you get backed up, when you get in that danger zone. It's usually either panic or trying to escape and take some damage, but Cash is just playing it really perfectly.
Cash, I mean, honestly, has been playing a very disciplined match through all 7 rounds. Now into round 8 here as well. And I mean, really, you got to remember the self-proclaimed Rat King here, looking to try and find themselves a title to put across their weight. Across their waist? What better way than just coming out and keeping true to the art, baby? You don't have to swing big. You don't have to swing often. You just got to make sure that your shots are precise.
Got to make sure you are accurate, and not only making sure you're precise, but picking your specific target of attack, making sure that you're not throwing out punches, you're not getting countered super easily. For Cash right now, doing some damage towards the block, and Gangstology under possibly 50% stamina into these later rounds does feel a little bit rough. I will have to say, though, for Cash, playing good defense, going for those hooks, and honestly, those hooks are what are doing the majority of the damage.
Yeah, I mean, the hooks have been really opening things up, too, for them allowed to open up some other points as far as the scoreboard. You get a couple of other nice little punches landed whenever you happen to open those things up there, but there it is.
Okay, are you all right?
Wait a minute.
There it is.
Are you okay?
Hold on.
Oh,
Checking in, making sure we're all right.
We're
All
good.
right.
We're good.
We're good. We're good. I was gonna say not like this before round number 8 even ends. You could imagine it calling like that. That would be crazy.
Yeah, would not feel too super good, but we're going into recovery. We're holding for just a second for these fighters. And again, this next round, I feel like is, it's going to be important, but after the round, I think is the most important. It's the final time we get to see, as well as the players get to see that scorecard. It's really the final time you can make those adaptations with having the information behind it.
I mean, I think that little bit there has to have you feeling motivated as Gangstology, right? The fact that, considering looking for a stop, that means, you've happened to see where they went to check the cut. If that happens again, the fight is called. So, I mean, if you happen to be able to cause enough more damage over the course of these last 4 rounds, despite the scorecard, that'd be it. So, I mean, that might just give Gangstology a little bit more motivation to go full-fledged ahead.
Really could. And honestly, we talked about the damage. Not only that, this is round 9. We are after round 8. So this is where the punches and bunches starts to hurt you. You get the less stamina recovery. So it's going to be harder for Cash to stay in this fight. And Gangstology with the pick, we'll see what they can continue to do. Taking a little bit of left swell damage. Don't want to go too far in and get countered.
Don't want to get countered. And right now for Gangstology, this is where you have to be the disciplined one, right? Because you have the opening, you see it right in front of you, but the last thing that you want to do is get over eager, especially against a disciplined fighter like Cash, who will make you pay. So you've got to wait for the right openings. You got to make sure that you're armed up and ready to go and being able to ready to explode with a barrage of shots when that opening does present itself. But you are seeing Gangstology doing a good job of slowly walking down Cash, trying to see if they can put him in the corner and see if that little bit of movement might force an opening.
A little bit of movement, just a shake is all it could take. Could sink the battleship with just one shot here. Recognizes the weak points, but with only 20 seconds left to go, only has a couple of missiles left in the tank, popping in the corner and going for the body shot as we're under double digits, down to the single digits, ticking on down, and Cash playing a little bit more defensive. Round 9, they will relax. The bell will ding, and we will get our scorecard after this break.
Cash gets out to a little bit of safety, and then he just sits there and hits him with the "come get me." Probably feeling confident about the scorecard now that we are 3/4 of the way through this thing. But yeah, you can see that cut over the eye. That thing has, even though maybe the bleeding has been stopped, that thing's busted pretty open here for now. So again, I feel like if I'm Gangstology, I am spamming right hooks, right straights, trying to see what I can get to land across that right or that left eye. See if we might be able to pull things home, because as for now, you have 3 rounds left. You're down by 4 for Gangstology. This either ends with a stoppage or a knockout. Otherwise, the scorecard favors Cash.
It absolutely does. And you can't just win each of the rounds by 1 now. It would have to be a knockdown to really get yourself back in points-wise. You got to say, Cash playing consistent, extending the lead or keeping the lead throughout the entirety of the fight so far. There is that danger of the cut, as you mentioned, and obviously Khan does fall off a little bit more, like we said, but not even playing like it. Cash is playing like it's the start of the fight.
Gangstology opens up with the right straight there, able to get a little bit of a shot, but now the question becomes, can you keep the glove up? If you're Cash, you don't want to be caught in an opening, especially if you happen to get a combo that lands to be able to get the flash and the daze. That would be big trouble over for the side of Cash. But for Cash, you also don't have the ability to completely let your foot up off the gas either. You mentioned 1 knockdown plus winning the rest of the rounds could bring this thing towards a tie if you're Gangstology. Cash doing a good job of keeping the space between them and Gangstology for now. Question becomes, can you keep the scoreboard in your favor as well?
That's the real question. Scoreboard at the end of the day tells no lies, keeps what we will see at the end of the fight to possibly be the result. And honestly, for a Gangstology, yeah, sure, what we say, you can get a knockdown, you can win the other 2 rounds to win the fight. That is a lot to ask for. You would love to get maybe a back-to-back knockdown round after round to try and get some sort of offense going. But again, Cash is just so comfortable in the corner, doesn't fall for those traps.
Has not fallen for him thus far, and it means that more pressure now going to be shifted onto the side of Gangstology. You almost can't help but wonder, 3 title fights, potentially looking at a second loss. Is that even starting to creep into the back of the mind here as we do see the end of another round? And I mean, we're starting to run out of time here.
We are. It's getting exciting with only 2 rounds left to go. There is always the danger of the cut as that thing has exploded once again. Now, of course, depending on the result of this one, if Cash does win, Gangstology does get a rematch clause for a possible future event. If Gangstology wins, they hold the belt and will look for the next title contender. But we are down to just 6 minutes left. 2 rounds as Gangstology opens things up.
2 rounds left to go, and Llama, I do feel like with the way that the scorecard is looking, I don't think this thing is going to be ending in a tie for Gangstology. They've got to find some way to get Cash to say night-night, put them onto the mat, and make sure that they cannot get up before the count of 10. Cash just simply has to keep their distance and make sure that they can keep upright.
Got to stay up on their feet, and I gotta say, Cash the Entertainer really bringing out not necessarily the emos, but just the block spam, keeping it up. Under 2 minutes to go, though, with 2 rounds left. We'll go to OT if we somehow find a way to tie things up. But Gangstology ain't looking for that. Looking for the win, looking to end it clean. Doesn't want to go to the risky extra 6 rounds where Khan will be more powerful in those early ones. But it's just the counters, the drop of the guard. I mean, Cash is playing with his food.
Yeah, Cash is sort of playing with his food, but he has put himself in the situation where he kind of is allowed to. I mean, at this point right now, Gangstology, especially Gangstology, is not able to get a knockdown here in round number 11. And round number 12 will have to go all out, which just plays into Cash's favor. You're able to catch somebody overextending, and especially with that little bit of an advantage on the reach, you might be able to punish them in a similar fashion like we've seen a couple of times here in the last minute. You back away, you see Gangstology step in just close enough, and he catches a quick left to the face.
Couple of shots to the face. 15 seconds left to go, and a left swell building up. But Gangstology wants to go forward here, trying to finish things out. Goes for a couple of body shots, but Cash handles it well. The counter headshot and the back off to safety. Cash, we get to see this right at the end. The step forward from Gangstology was just beat on out, and Cash, it's been the MO to just get back to safety, make sure they don't make any mistakes, and we're ready to go for the final round of regulation.
Here we go, final round. Can Gangstology get the knockdown and the knockout that is surely needed in order to defend his championship as the ECS US champion? Or will we be crowning a second straight new champion of the evening? For Cash, it feels like they're in the driver's seat. They just have to make sure that they take these corners fine.
Got to play the corners well, and running out of time, as we said, we know Gangstology is going to have to go forward. At the same time, has the stamina advantage, even if it is minimal. Goes for a body shot that does find its marker, but these counters from Cash just always going for the hook. It feels awkward for Gangstology to go too far in, biding their time, waiting to pressure into the corner and looking for a mistake as they tilt a whirl around back to the middle of the ring.
Halfway through this final round here, Llama, I gotta say, it's starting to look more and more bleak for Gangstology.
Yep.
Has not been able to find a Flash Days. Hasn't really even been able to find any good opening sort of combos that would make you lead to believe that we're on the verge of seeing one of those Flash Days. I think Khan has done a great job of putting themselves into the driver's seat and just continues to coast to where they'll be able to go easily across the finish line, and we'll have ourselves a new U.S. champion. But who knows? 55 seconds left. Anything's still possible.
Anything can happen, and especially with an Amir Khan. Imagine if you hit the human highlight reel with only 30 seconds left to go. Gangstology knows, though, it's now or never. It is get it done or go home and wait for the rematch. Dollars on the line, belts on the line. Gangstology needs to go forward, but Cash is just backing up. He's playing the defense. He's dropping the guard, and he might have just dropped the defending champion.
Yeah, I think that's going to be it there, and it's going to be Gangstology dropping the U.S. Championship. It is going to be in favor of Cash 1K, our number 2 point earner throughout the course of this last conference play, earned the shot here today and was then able to put themselves up on top, and they get to wear the strap.
Get to wear the belt and winning by 5 as well. Just the early lead. You saw Cash be able to take those later rounds as well. Gangstology, very consistent fighter. Still won some rounds. Still was able to keep on up and had that cut that was looking really dangerous. But man, did Cash put on a show.
I think the big thing for me was, despite the early cut for Cash, they just continued to plug and chug, man. And it was, I mean, really only surrendering 3 rounds, and it was unanimous which rounds they were. 5, 9, and 10 there in favor of the side of Gangstology. Otherwise, Cash, I mean, truly in the driver's seat. Just really a clinic when it comes to working the scorecard.
Absolute clinic for sure. And, you know, playing those late rounds, like we've always talked about, that Khan lose a little bit of value after round number 8, but it didn't matter. Just playing their type of fighting, staying in the corners, playing defensive, and making sure they didn't get caught. I just feel like those hooks from Cash every single time, the hook counter, and it just pushed Gangstology off him, did too much damage. And it was a really, really good final, and one we might be able to see again because of the rematch clause.
Man, the rematch clause means that Gangstology gets the opportunity to run it back. Gets another chance to try and reclaim their title. But at least for now, after the Ascension here, Cash is your U.S. champion. You got to give him a big congrats for that, man. What a fight.
What a fight. What an amazing one to cap off our second championship. And we'll get to look back at some of these replays. But again, just got to shout out both these players first. That Gangstology, we've talked about the road. We've talked about the consistency. We've talked about now being a participant in all 3 of the events. Cash 1K, though, coming in, silencing like the Rat King they are, being able to take the belt.
Able to take the belt, and this is what it's all about, man. Fighting your way across, earning a chance, and then being able to capitalize on said opportunity. And I mean, for the side of Cash, I mean, it was just about putting themselves up big on the scorecard. I mean, I know 3 points doesn't sound like that much, especially when you can earn it back easily in 2 rounds, right? But for Cash to be able to put themselves in 3 straight rounds to start things off and basically tell Gangstology, hey, I'm here to take that belt. You now need to figure me out. I mean, there's just no better way to start things off.
No better way at all. And honestly, to see the tactical play again, and maybe it wasn't another fight where we, didn't have as many knockdowns, didn't have as many explosions here or there. It was tactical for sure, and that's what you want to see from a championship. Of course, for Gangstology, like we said, they get the rematch. We'll possibly get to see him in event number 4 if they want to go for that rematch and that belt. But Q, we've got another champion here today looking to defend their belt as well.
Yeah, iPro, our undisputed champion. He was the winner of our very first event that we did have here with the Ethlete Championship Series. And they've been lying in wait for a while for a worthy opponent here. The big thing is they are going to be fighting as Bromar, who has not lost in conference play. An unstoppable force meets an immovable object. Before we get to that, though, I do want to make sure that if you have not done so and you haven't got a chance to check out the website, hey, yo, jump up over there, man. We're about to be taking a break. Check it out real quick. Also, make sure you're in the Discord. Get involved. Tell somebody to tell somebody to tell somebody about it. We're continuing to grow this thing on. We're going to be doing more of these events. We've had 3 titles on the line here tonight. I'm excited to see where we can grow from here. But we've figured out 2 champions. We've crowned 2 new champions. Can iPro be the only one on the evening to defend their title? The answer to that, we'll find out right after this.
And we are back, still here at the Ethlete Championship Series for the Ascension, our third event. Still Llama and Q up here on the desk, and we've got another championship belt on the line. We've got another player trying to defend their title. And Q, it's iPro. How could you forget the name of our first ever undisputed winner?
Well, I mean, I know I couldn't, because iPro, I feel like it's all you talking. No, I'm just kidding. iPro definitely put on a show in that very first event that we had. Is our undisputed champion for a reason. However, his challenger today is also the challenger for a reason. Bromar has not lost in conference play. Like I said, an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. There's a reason that this thing ends the card for our ECS Ascension. It should be a fireworks show.
It's going to be a good one. I mean, you talk about the pathway to get here, of course, for iPro, win a championship. That's how they got here. On the other side, Bromar, you talk about a fighter that has just been rampaging through conference play to even get a shot at this one. I think, like you said, fireworks is the right choice for this one. I think it's going to be exciting, but you know what else is exciting? Money. Maybe you guys like some and want to enter into our Amazon giveaway. Make sure you're checking out our AthleteCS website.com and make sure you're getting involved and join the Discord.
Get involved in the Discord, and if you haven't jumped in the Discord yet, if you do so today, you enter in for a free Amazon gift card. How cool is that? We've got iPro versus Bromar, the last one of our matchups today, the undisputed champion. Man, oh man, it promises to be a good one. You know, one of these days, Llama, when it comes to one of these championship matches, we're going to see the big boys come out, the heavyweights, maybe even the light heavyweight. Today, though, we're going to continue with our more tactical fighting. We're going down to the lightweight division.
Going down to lightweight once again, and another pretty familiar matchup to us. I will gotta say, Q, all the pictures of the fighters are looking good today. We had some other ones last time, maybe the unrealistic fighters. This time, we've got the real men out there, and we've got the shades for iPro, who's holding that defending title.
Yeah, I love to see the shades. Too cool for school here for iPro, and Bromar on the opposite side. You mentioned, man, I've been loving to see the fighter pictures all across the board. No more shadow with a question mark or anything like that, or just a cartoon figure. It's the big bad boys saying, we're coming in here and we are trying to knock your teeth out. I love it, man. I love it. Now, this next matchup you mentioned, we're going to lightweight. I'm be interested to see what you mentioned, a matchup that we should be familiar with. We've seen it before, I do believe. Feel like for iPro, we know what they bring to the table. For Bromar, unless you've been paying attention to conference play, all you hear is that, well, they've been undefeated. We get to see just how good Bromar is for the first time on stream here today.
It's gonna be interesting to see. You know, we kind of don't get to watch those background matches in the conference play, so to see them just kind of appear, we are getting the first look at their styles, and we are getting the first look at our fighters. Cue the final fight of the night to see if we can have a new undisputed champion.
Let's see if we happen to have our third new champion of the evening. It's the first time that we've been able to crown more than one champion. So the fact that we did not have a successful defense in our first title defense makes me wonder if maybe there's just a little bit of something in the air tonight. We're supposed to have 3 new champions after our third event here with ECS. iPro on one side, Bromar on the other. It's our undisputed championship fight. It's a 12-round banger. No more time to talk about it, Llama. It's time to be about it.
Let's do it. Let's possibly have another belt on the line here, and honestly, a little bit more exciting arena, I'm not gonna lie. We've been kind of just a casual boxing ring for some of the previous one. We've got some fans, and that's more important. We want to get everybody on in here. Make sure you're sharing this out to every single one of your friends for the final fight of the night. Let's get down to it.
Also, bring the hype in chat, man. Let's go ahead and get hyped up. Our last fight here, the first time that we've seen iPro on an ECS stream here in a couple of months as well. Our first champion that we ever crowned over with the Ethlete Championship Championship Series. And you see Josh Taylor, it's Ryan Garcia out here as well. And I feel like these first couple of rounds should be feeler rounds. But you know what? If I am one of these fighters, especially on the side of Bromar, I just might consider coming out swinging for the fences, because an early knockdown could really open things up.
I mean, knockdowns have been the game changer. We haven't actually seen too many today. I know we always talk about that last event where we had the fight of the night that had, what, like 9 or 10 knockdowns combined between the two fighters. But this one is exciting, especially because we talk about iPro, who has just been silently grinding their way towards the top in this kind of off season that we've seen from them. They've just been improving and improving their craft specifically.
Doing a really good job improving so far. But you know what? We're 2 minutes into round number 1, and I don't know if I can really call this one way or the other. Both sides have done a good job of getting their licks in so far. I do feel like it has been iPro doing a little bit better job as far as controlling the ring, but at times we have seen Bromar having no problem stepping in, sidestepping a punch, and returning with a punch or two in their own right.
Looking for something to possibly counter on back. You love to see that a little bit early, and this is an interesting matchup, but iPro has already got the matchup in their favor. Dazed, confused, and all over the places. The block continues to fall, but Bromar actually handles it and escapes the daze.
Able to escape, saved by the bell, able to back on up, keeps the guard up. I mean, the body does take a beating there, Llama, but you know what? No knockdown as of yet. But when you look over across the way, I mean, for iPro, talk about a way to start things off here for our Undisputed Championship fight.
That's the way to start it for sure. I mean, iPro showing why they are that #1 overall undisputed winner. But at the same time, for Bromar, I like to see that resilience, recognizing how to escape the daze. I think that's honestly the first time we've seen a player escape the daze all day.
I think that might actually be a fair assessment there, Llama. And you know what? I think if the clock didn't help, I think you give them another 5-10 seconds. I think they eventually end up falling and hitting the mat there. So kind of lucky enough as far as the timing on everything. But that does allow iPro to have the confidence to come on out here and continue to kind of keep that same pace. Steps away allows as far as a little bit of distance, which of course John Taylor does have, I mean, pretty well same reach as Ryan Garcia does. So you don't have to worry about it as far as an advantage one way or the other. Whenever he can hit you, you can hit him.
Hey, there's that 1 centimeter difference. Don't disregard that. But
hey,
I will say, yeah, pretty much the same. You do have, I feel like, for Josh Taylor, just this opportunity to open things up, especially in the longer range exchanges. And especially with that tireless from Ryan Garcia, you have the extra boost if you can hit the combos yourself. But I will say, this fight already providing some great explosiveness.
Yeah, definitely a bunch of explosiveness here between our two fighters. Definitely caliber of a championship fight. There's a reason that we left this as the main event. And man, again, a couple of nice right hands from iPro there. One to the body, one to the face. And I mean, continuing to exuberate the confidence there in the middle of the ring. Another shot to the body, closing the distance with the right hand. And Josh Taylor just dominant right now.
Absolutely taking over the ring as we hit the bell for the second round. Of course, as mentioned, again, we will get to take a look at our scorecard after every 3 rounds and then the final scorecard. But Q, we've got some blood.
Little bit of bleeding over the right eye there for iPro. Of course, keep in mind, just because of the fact that you are bleeding doesn't necessarily put you behind on the scorecard. We saw in that last fight, I mean, Cash bleeding from what, round 2, round 3, something incredibly early there. So it is something that you do got to keep an eye on, though, if you're iPro. For sure, I would imagine Bromar will try and find a way to attack it more in the coming round.
Find a way, find an opening, whatever you can get. We'll have to see which one of these two players can find that opening quickly enough. It does have to see, though, I will have to say, for Bromar, keeping up right now, he's taking a little bit more damage. And honestly, Q, I'm excited to see where the scorecard does lie. It's been so back and forth.
Yeah, it's been really back and forth through these first 3. I feel like when we go to the card that iPro should still have the advantage. The question is it 3 rounds? I don't know if that's the case. It felt like maybe 2 you could see going more in the favor of Bromar. I felt like the first round, though, was more in the favor of iPro. Currently, I would probably have it as a 1-1, but I mean, this third round does feel like it's kind of back to more of that way things started out. I mean, iPro feeling comfortable, dancing in the middle of the ring. And as far as for Bromar, not really able to land much of a thing.
Not really able to hit it where they want to right now. Still ton of rounds left, though, and still time left here specifically in this round with some good body damage. We'll see what Bromar can follow it up with and see if they can exploit that cut. We almost saw that stoppage in the previous fight. Maybe that could be done, but it's a daze again. Wow. iPro knows how to hit and will not be denied the knockdown this time.
Not going to be denied the knockdown, and that's going to help as far as on the scorecard here. And, man, this is tough if you're Bromar. Taking a knockdown in the third round, just when it felt like maybe here before the first scorecard, things were nice and close. That should very much shift things in favor of iPro.
iPro going to have definitely the point advantage going their way. At the same time, I just love to see that knockdown, a little bit more explosiveness we're seeing than the previous fights. And honestly, that cut's starting to get dangerous, but honestly feel like we're pretty even.
I feel like it's probably pretty even. I think the one knockdown is going to be the big thing that really turns things in favor as far as the scorecard for iPro. I guess it really becomes the question of how did the judges score round number 2? Because if number 2 did go in favor of Josh Taylor, this just might be a 4-point differential after just 3 rounds, in which case Bromar going to be on a bunch of pressure to try and turn things around before the midway point.
Well, midway point is going to quickly approach, and it's going to be exciting to see what adaptations are made. Of course, with the scorecard, that gives you the information to kind of do what you want, and there it is. iPro winning all rounds so far, and that last one by 2. So the 4-point deficit we talk about, it doesn't seem like too much with 9 rounds left, but it's already another daze. iPro knows how to pilot the headshots, keep on flying, and it's back-to-back knockdowns.
Oh, man, and not only is it back-to-back knockdowns, but a knockdown very early into the round. I thought we were about to already have a knockout here early in round number 4. I was about to say not like this, but that does give iPro the green light here. 2 minutes to be able to continue to send a barrage of shots over the way of Bromar. You figure another big knockdown just might do it.
Another knockdown could be it. At the same time, you're going to recognize for Ryan Garcia, again, just going on the offense, just as important as defense here. And it's always that, lose-lose scenario, right? When you talk about you're in the deficit, you have to go forward. You're already down in damage. If you go forward, you're probably going to get hit again and take more damage. But if you don't go forward, you're just going to lose in points. So you have to make that decision quickly.
Gotta make sure you can check that on that here relatively soon. And got a minute here left to hold things off if you are Bromar. Right now, iPro looking for blood like a shark in water, smells it, senses it, trying to move in for the kill. Would be so big to be able to get another knockdown here in round number 4. Keep the pedal down. As far as for Bromar, though, I feel like the back end of round number 4 has been surprisingly in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the body damage that iPro has actually taken. Bromar is starting to pop out some missiles here, absolutely able to put in the damage. But the question is the counters. I mean, this is why iPro is so good, even on the back foot. Just knows when to hit, and there's a counter again. Off of the counter, down goes Bromar.
That's another tough down here. This time, though, going to be able to get up relatively quickly. The only thing is that hurts quite a bit on the scorecard here. Gonna be going to their corners. Yeah. You have some time to breathe, but 2 knockdowns in round number 4. That hurts.
The knockdowns don't feel good, but also it feels even worse because, like we said, it's the lose-lose scenario, right? That you're trying to go forward as Bromar. You're trying to put in the effort. iPro, okay, step back shot, step back counter, easy double up, and then hits the daze with it. It does not feel good. So although you have rounds left, sure, you've got 7 plus this extra one here in this one. For Bromar, it's just a situation where you're either going to have to adapt your style, maybe switch up like we said. It looks like going to the southpaw for iPro has really helped out a lot, or go in all out. It doesn't feel like the greatest answer, but maybe it's what you got to do.
I mean, I feel like that is what you got to do here. You got to come out and show a little bit of fight in you and find some way to hopefully be able to turn things around, because the first 4 rounds have been very much in a dominant fashion in favor of iPro. The last thing that you want iPro to do is see at the halfway point a 5, 6, heaven forbid 7, 8 point lead. That just gives them so much confidence heading down the back half, but swinging in the middle of the fences like their life depends on it is Bromar.
Yep. Swinging and swinging, doing some damage, actually connecting, and I like Bromar. Even though you're sitting at a lower point, maybe deficit here, it does feel like controlling the middle is how you get back to winning. You do the body damage, you get the head damage. That's exactly what you want with the combo flurry. Bromar, though, wants to take a step back, not want to go in with no stamina.
Not wanting to be caught off guard, especially with not much stamina to be able to build that gap back up. You don't want to get caught sleeping flat-footed in the kill zone. There's going to be the bell. Or no, it's not the bell. We're actually checking the cut over the eye. Llama, in similar fashion to like we saw in the last title fight, despite the fact that they're leading on the scorecard, Josh Taylor has had to be checked due to that cut, which means if Bromar is able to open that thing up some more and cause him to check it one more time, it's done.
That's crazy. I mean, the situation is there. The win condition for both players up as we hit that round. And you see, look, the right cut is 3 out of 4. That is actually so close to being over and done with. iPro is going to have to play safe. They have the point lead. They can play a little bit more defensive, but man, credit to Bromar has found their win condition.
Got to keep the gloves up, man. Got to protect the right eye there. If you are iPro, surely Bromar has seen that and knows that that's exactly where they've got to attack. And heading into round number 6, I mean, I feel like right now it's you don't worry about the scorecard. You just find every way that you can to land some left shots right across the face to continue to attack that gash.
And it looks like possibly a left cut opening up as well. Just the whole of the face bleeding. And honestly, don't know if iPro, I know how comfortable they are here in the southpaw. I wonder if maybe they switch up back to a regular stance just to protect that cut a little bit more. It does feel a little bit awkward with that left cut possibly opening up as well. Bromar taking a lot of damage, but iPro has to play this very carefully.
iPro definitely has to be careful. We still have a whole half of a round here before we get to visit those scorecards once more. And even when we visit the scorecard, that's still just the halfway point. And for iPro to already have a 3 out of 4 over that right hand and continuing to lean face first into left hands, that's a dangerous strategy.
Not the greatest strategy. Block those punches with your head, but at the same time, Bromar is just going to be putting the effort forward. I feel like for iPro, it could be a situation where you look for the KO. You've already had a couple of knockdowns. That could be the win condition. As much as you are ahead in the scorecard, you might just want to put the gas pedal forward, but at the same time, again, taking shot after shot to the dome.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective here for the side of iPro because, yeah, you've gotten yourself a couple of knockdowns. You feel like maybe you're not too far from the knockout, and you wonder, also up on the scorecard. Do I try and go the distance? Can my face go the distance? It's the real question here, especially as more lefts continue to just rattle the right side of the face of iPro.
Got to be really tough. And yeah, we were correct. It is left cut, right cut, both of them going to be matching up on either side of it. So Bromar going to be feeling good if they can recognize the injuries on the other side. The real question is going to be, how does iPro play it? Let's see the scorecard, leading by 5. But I think, honestly, we could throw the scorecard at the window at this moment, Q. I feel like it's all about those cuts versus if iPro can get the knock. Okay.
No. Wait.
No.
What? No.
Checking the left cut. Check the left cut.
No. He's calling it. He's waving it. It's over.
Wow.
Just as we were talking about how the scorecard doesn't matter, and we have ourselves another new champion
Wow.
by TKO, and it's Bromar, the undisputed champ.
I mean, a crazy ending. We were expecting, you can see that right cut got to the 4th marker. That means it is all over. I thought for sure it was going to be a left cut check, but no, iPro kept with the same stance, kept fighting those lefts with his head, and eventually takes the loss. It is the winner, Bromar, by TKO. We'll get to look at the match highlights, and I gotta say, for two players that have over 900 combined online wins between them, that fight did not disappoint.
Definitely did not disappoint, but I'll tell you what, it shows that it ain't ever over until it's over. We saw something similar in that U.S. Championship fight. However, the fight ends up not being called, but thanks to the fact that Bromar opens up the right eye and then continues to pound away with the lefts, is inevitably able to get the fight ended, despite the fact that they're 5 points down. And like I said, they are your new undisputed champion.
New undisputed champion. They get to hold the belt, and honestly, you just kind of question the decisions, right? If iPro might have switched back up the stance, could have protected a little bit more. At the same time, it's all theoretical, because maybe iPro very strong in that stance, but got to say, well done from Bromar to keep things going, even after they got knocked down, targeting the head, looking for the counters. Man, if that would have been a left cut check, I would have been so happy, but no, calls it at the end. And you know, like you said, Q, it's not over until it is over.
You know, maybe could have taken a little bit of strategies from the self-proclaimed Rat King there from the previous fight. Once you got yourself the lead, you don't need to be continuing to stick your head into places that it don't need to be. You can just sit back and allow the other fighter to come to you. iPro, I think maybe the confidence just a little bit too much. Maybe borderline delving over into that cocky area, which allowed for Bromar to capitalize and walk away as your undisputed champion.
3 new champions crowned on the day. Imagine that. But it is important to note, both iPro and Gangstology, because they were the previous title holders, will get the rematch clause, so possibly playing again at a later date. The interesting thing will be, because they were technically the higher seed, they had the home field advantage. They were the one that got to pick the weight class. They were the one that got first. They will now not have that luxury in the rematch.
Well, Mama, we have now crowned 3 champions. Now it's time for you and I to come to a decision here as far as for fight of the night. And, you know, we talked about how we probably shouldn't give it to the 18-round fight simply because it was an 18-round fight. I think I still have to stand with that line of thought here. I think for me, it does have to be our first fight of the evening. I think for me, the hugs dealer, boxer tricks, the back and forth, the pop off on either side of the mat has to be what has fight of the night vote for me.
I think so too. I mean, it was a great fight to open up the card, and I think, like you talk about, the back and forth, the almost comeback, and again, 2 fighters that we've kind of seen over and over again get up to this high level. I gotta say that overtime one was coming a little bit close to the fight of the night.
It was.
I think, like you said, just not enough knockdowns, a little bit more of that chess match, and that first opener was really, really good between the 2.
Yeah, that first one was honestly just an absolute fireworks show. The back and the forth, scratching and clawing. And obviously, with an overtime match, it's obviously really close as well. But I think it was just more of those like long draws one way, then long draws the other way. And you really didn't know how to call it. Wouldn't have been surprised if that one happened to get ran back as well. But yeah, I think fight of the night for sure. Hugs dealer and boxer tricks. We're not done as far as giving away stuff though, Llama. I don't think we've run that giveaway just quite yet as far as for people entering the Discord who are new here today. So if you haven't already done so, get up on in there. Also make sure you're checking out the website, EthleteCS.com. And this has been our 3rd tournament, Llama. It's been an absolute blast as always to join you on the mic, brother.
It's been fun, and I'm excited about future events. You step up towards the belt, and honestly, to see the new faces. Like we said, it was nice to kind of see the players that have been grinding out conference play that maybe we didn't get to see in some of our bigger events in the past two come up and challenge, and we'll get to see that even more in the future. Let's take a look at how things did shake on down. We started the day with 8 fighters all around battling for 3 belts. Ghetto IP was able to take that European Championship and will be the current European Championship holder. Gangstaji was taken down by Cash 1K, and in that previous fight, Bromar was able to take down iPro for the Undisputed Championship title.
So at least thus far, when it comes to the Ethlete Championship Series, there seems to be a little bit of a curse. Once you get the belt, can you keep the belt? So I guess you guys are going to have to make sure y'all are tuning in for the next one, where I'm sure we're going to be at least having a couple of those titles here on the line. I also want to make sure we're giving a big shout out to our production in the back, Wiser Esports, Content Gaming, man. Honestly, putting on a show, making it easy for Llama and I. We show up, we get to do the easy work, we get to get super excited, and also to our staff and admin that are working in the back as well. They're the ones who are really the driving force for us to put together the events like this. Really the only ones right now that are putting together events like this when it comes to Undisputed. You guys help us continue to grow it. Every time you see clips, we're going to be putting out matches, I'm sure, like we did after the last event. Check them out on YouTube. Like, comment, share. Make sure you watch that video all the way through. Even if you've seen the fight, just let it run on your other tab. That way YouTube knows to put that thing in front of more people. That way we can continue to grow the ECS. But that is going to do it as far as here tonight for Ascension, y'all. If it's your first time through, hit the follow button, turn those notifications on. That way we can catch y'all back for the next one. And speaking of that next one, so we catch y'all back over here for the next time, man, don't forget, with everything crazy going on in the world today, be true, be you, be sincere, game hard and love hard. All right, y'all, that's Llama. I'm Q. For the rest of the crew from the front to the back, y'all have a great rest of your weekend. Peace.